The story goes that in my past life, I awakened the lowest tier class in society, an F-rank repairman. I should have had a peaceful life opening a bicycle repair shop. But unfortunately, a powerful capitalist corporation discovered a loophole in my innate talent. F-rank, give me a rusted iron bar, and a few strokes of my hammer will turn it into a divine artifact. Give me a tattered fireball skill book, and with some duct tape, I'll turn it into a world-destroying forbidden spell. My class may be F-rank, but my craftsmanship is divine. The consequence was that those corporate bastards locked me in a basement, slapped chains around my neck, and forced me to craft items day and night like a ragged dog, with no pay, no insurance, and not even a single day off. Until, utterly exhausted, and right at the moment I was about to close my eyes for the last time, I used my remaining breath to fix some useless time skill. Thus, time reversed, I regressed, and the day of awakening arrived once again. Under the eager gazes of everyone, my talent pillar flashed brilliantly. The system announced the awakening of the F-rank repairman class. The whole academy burst into contemptuous laughter. But wait, the light hadn't faded yet. The trait series indicated the legendary dual class. The entire school held its breath, and the proctor stared wide-eyed as the system finalized the awakening of a second class, F-rank farmer. A second of silence, and then the whole school rolled on the floor, laughing hysterically. The laughter was doubled, and the contempt was quadrupled. The devastating combo of repairman and farmer, the trash of the trash, the waste among wastes. Everyone looked at me with gazes full of the utmost pity. But those fools didn't know that behind my head-hanging expression of shame, the corners of my mouth were curled up all the way to my ears. A celebration party was going on inside my heart. Go ahead and laugh. Laugh as loud as you want. They only knew that repairmen swing hammers and farmers sow seeds. But who would know that if you take an F-rank weed seed grown by a farmer and hand it over to a repairman to modify, it transforms into the world tree? Have you ever seen a divine artifact sprouting from a cabbage patch? And all right, without further ado, our story begins. Today is the most momentous day of high school life, awakening right beneath the shadow of a colossal, sky-piercing demonic rift. On the packed bus, the noisy students clutched the handrails tightly, excitedly discussing their bright futures ahead. Our young man suddenly snapped awake, staring blankly and bewildered at the surrounding scenery. As a crazy thought flashed through his mind, I've actually come back. Memories rushed back, making him shocked to realize this was the very day all senior students headed to the Nanrong Demonic Rift Station to awaken their classes. This meant right now was the golden moment before Nanrong City was flattened into ruins. Flipping back through history, years ago, countless demonic rift entrances suddenly descended upon humanity, and Nanrong was one of them. It was a place where hordes of monsters poured out to slaughter humans en masse. But ironically, when humanity fiercely charged into the rift with guns, ammunition, and even nuclear weapons to counterattack, they were stunned to discover that the magic here completely neutralized all modern weaponry. Only much later did people discover a truth. As long as someone reached the right age and stepped close to the rift, they could awaken into all sorts of different classes, gaining innate skills and the power to beat down monsters after years of bloody warfare by humanity. Eventually, humans controlled all the entry and exit points and began carrying swords to raid the demon world. Consequently, human society changed completely. A new rule was established. Every high school student reaching the age of adulthood was obligated to go to the demonic rift to awaken their class, and they were divided into three main types: combat, support, and crafting. Among them, the combat team was always placed on a pedestal, and support was highly sought after. In contrast, poor crafting guys were looked down upon and treated like lowly manual laborers. And how unlucky it was in my past life that the class I drew happened to be the absolute bottom-tier F-rank crafting class. However, heaven cuts off no one's path. The innate skill I received was a heaven-defying modification, divine skill. Just changing a single letter in the name of a skill or item instantly turned trash into treasure. The misery of my past life was that the very second I impulsively showed off this divine skill, I was hauled away and summoned right beside powerful figures. They forced me to modify all kinds of skill names and equipment to help them turn piles of worthless scrap iron into gleaming divine artifacts. But the overpowering strength of that divine skill made them start fearing me. So instead of paying wages, they decided to imprison me, restrict my growth, and try to control me completely. Until that fateful night, a high-level giant demonic dragon suddenly crawled out of the Nanrong Rift, an unprecedented event. On that exact day, having ground my way to a high level, I was just stepping into the ranks of humanity's elite. Perhaps someone saw I was no longer docile and wanted to use the monster's hands to wipe me out entirely. In the moments close to death, I screamed out to activate modification, changing resurrection to reincarnation, and boom. That modified innate skill brought me back to the past. Returning to reality, the driver's voice cut through my thoughts. We are approaching the Nanrong demonic rift. All students prepare to get off. Hiding in the crowd, I muttered with firm determination. Having come back to life, whoever wants to kill me doesn't matter anymore. With this divine skill, the only person I can trust is myself. As the vehicle crossed the boundary, I swore to myself that this time I would never tell anyone about my ability, because I clearly knew that protecting my family, friends, and this city had to start with keeping my mouth tightly shut to maintain the secret. Wearing a confident smile, I concluded, and I will silently grind hard to save myself and this city. The bus finally stopped in front of the Awakening Plaza, right before the grand headquarters of the Nanrong Hunter Association. Stepping off the bus, my friends started whining. I'm about to awaken my class. If I end up with some trash crafting class, I'm done for. I'd rather take the crappiest F-rank combat class. Jiang Yan, our low-key youth, just stretched and stepped off when his friends swarmed around him in admiration. Jiang Yan was born with max mana pools, and he's at the top in both academics and combat. I'm so envious of a genius like him. He's definitely going to awaken a super powerful combat class, right? Yet life always has people who love to throw wrenches into gears. Our second-place classmate, Yang Huangwei, immediately interrupted with a sour expression. What does all that have to do with awakening a class? This jealous bastard even laughed boisterously and added a cold remark. Plenty of kids with extreme energy compatibility still end up awakening useless F-rank classes. Ignoring the guy acting like an ignorant clown, the teacher walked over and patted Jiang Yan's shoulder with high expectations. Jiang Yan, you go first. Hopefully you'll bring us some luck. The guiding teacher walked ahead, reassuring, students, don't be too nervous. Just place both hands on the crystal ball and your class panel will automatically awaken. The loudspeaker clearly announced. Student from Nanrong No. 1 High School, Jiang Yan, step forward and awaken your class. Hearing his name called, he took confident strides toward the stage of glory. Ignoring how nervous everyone else was on his behalf, he just smirked and thought to himself, unlike you guys who are still dreaming and expecting, I already know what the final result is. Down below, the girls kept murmuring in awe. Jiang Yan was born with max mana. If he awakens a combat class, he'll definitely be insanely strong. On the contrary, the teacher clasped his hands and muttered, please don't let it be a crafting class, please don't let it be a crafting class. While his nemesis standing nearby curled his lip and cursed, that slum brat is guaranteed to land a crafting class. Brushing off all the whispering, Jiang Yan calmly reached his hand out toward the magical crystal ball. The moment his hand touched its smooth surface, a dazzling pillar of light erupted, enveloping his entire body. And then the system panel displayed two large glowing characters. Repairman. Detailed stats hit the eyes instantly. Name: Jiang Yan, Nanrong No. 1 High School. Energy compatibility 100%, awakened class. F-rank crafting system repairman. The whole plaza froze. The teacher pulled his hair in despair. How could this be? That kid worked so hard, ranked first in both academics and practicals, born with max mana, yet he awakened an F-rank. You've got to be kidding me. Breaking the gloomy atmosphere, Yang Huangwei cackled like it was harvest season. I told you so. It was bound to be a crafting class, and an absolute bottom-tier F-rank repairman at that. He clutched his face with a wild laugh, triumphantly mocking. Oh, Jiang Yan, you rode on my head for the past 3 years. Now take a look at your pathetic state. The proctor standing nearby felt too sorry and gave a dry cough to smooth things over. Actually, a repairman isn't that bad. Still way better than a farmer. You can open an equipment repair shop and make a decent living. But before the words of comfort could finish, the magical light from his body erupted violently once again. The proctor widened his eyes in shock and hurriedly shouted, wait! The crystal ball is reacting again. He's awakening a second class. The teacher immediately regained his spirit, his eyes shining with hope. Dual awakenings are extremely rare. Anyone possessing 2 classes is an outstanding genius. Even if the first class is F-rank, who knows if the second can turn the tables. The second pillar of light surged turbulent, just as brilliant and intense as the first, until the system panel finalized. Farmer. The stats panel updated with chilling indifference. Awakened classes. Repairman, farmer, F-rank crafting system. The teacher and judges completely turned to stone, jaws dropped and eyes wide. A person using a rare class awakened 2 F-ranks instead. And the second one is even worse than the first. Wei at this point clutched his stomach, rolling with laughter until tears fell. A double F-rank combo. Jiang Yan, you truly are a once-in-a-millennium genius, a top-1 academic star backed by 2 F-ranks. Leaving all the chaos behind, Jiang Yan nonchalantly turned around and walked down the steps. The teacher watched his retreating back, adjusted his glasses, and sighed heavily. Ah, poor Jiang Yan. The kid is unbelievably unlucky. He should have turned out to be a legendary prodigy, yet now he's become waste. The crowd whispered with the utmost pity. He worked so hard to rank first in both academics and combat, yet in the end. But lurking in the dim light, Jiang Yan just sneered. Waste? Unlucky? It's true that the class I awakened actually lies at the very bottom of society. He put his hands in his pockets, maintaining an overwhelming poise as he thought further. But what I awakened is a heaven-defying, fate-defying innate skill. A system panel flickered into view with glowing golden text. Class: Repairman innate skill, modify mana cost, varies description. This skill can modify a single character in the name of an innate skill, piece of equipment, or item. Upon modification, the owner of the name will receive the corresponding innate skill, equipment, or item matching the new name. Note, if the modified target belongs to the user, the success rate is 100%. If the target exceeds the user's level, the success rate decreases with each higher level. Recalling his past life, it was precisely thanks to that magical manipulation, changing the word growth boost to resurrection for the farmer class, that the system granted him the ultimate resurrection spell that saved his life. Farmer innate skill, growth boost mana cost, varies description, increases plant growth speed. Modified innate skill, farmer class innate skill, resurrection mana cost, varies description. Resurrects the targeted user including oneself and restores all wounds, however consumed mana will not be restored. Jiang Yan flashed a demonic and confident smile. As long as I utilize this skill well, it will surely become my greatest trump card. Looking up at the colossal screen of the rookie leaderboard, the corners of Jiang Yan's mouth curved up with calculation. Just wait, I'll bag the top 1 spot on both leaderboards, and then you guys will experience the terror of being dominated by an F-rank class. After all, the reward resources for the top rank far exceed ordinary imagination, his gaze firm. In this life, I will stand unrivaled at the pinnacle of power. Without hesitation, he headed straight to the rookie training facility, a place born to help newbies grind levels. This area contained weak, human-farmed demonic rift creatures. Not only was it safe, but the dropped EXP was the highest for beginners. He calculated mentally. Beating the clearance record also awards a bunch of bonus points for the upcoming provincial rookie tournament. Taking long, confident strides, he solidified his goal. Coming here isn't just to grind levels. I'm going to smash that clearance record and lock down a ticket to a top-tier university. At the checkpoint, the staff member holding the file looked at him with sympathetic eyes. Jiang Yan, Nanrong No. 1 High School, Class 12A1, awakened an F-rank crafting system, used to rank first in both academics and practicals. Out of massive numbers of newbies, only one gets a dual awakening, yet both are F-ranks. The knight standing nearby also frowned and advised. Hey kid, are you sure you want to attempt soloing alone? Even though this is just the first stage of the rookie dungeon, the difficulty is no joke. He friendly patted his shoulder and kindly reminded. Especially with an F-rank class, it's best you party up with classmates. But Jiang Yan simply replied calmly, I'm sure, please issue my rookie equipment. The two men looked at each other, sighing miserably and muttering. This kid used to be the school's top ranker. He must still not be able to accept the shock of awakening 2 F-rank classes. Despite feeling sorry, the knight still handed over the gear. Here is your rookie equipment, take it. Looking at the item in his hand, he recalled his past life where the only equipment he received was an iron sword that increased attack power. This time he even got a bonus pair of leather boots that increased speed. It seemed this knight was exceptionally pitying him. Lifting the sword, he smiled politely. Thanks for your kindness. But clearly, the guy was looking down on his strength. The kind knight offered some parting advice before he stepped through the dungeon door. If you get overwhelmed by a pack of charging rabbits, just scream for help, and rescue knights will intervene immediately. Thanks for the warning, he said, waving his hand as he turned and walked inside. But you won't need to worry about me. The dungeon doors slowly closed, and the moment he was out of sight, the Loki genius instantly activated hacks, triggering his innate skill. Modify. The marvelous magic instantly transformed the crappy iron sword into a steel sword with armor-piercing attack, and the leather boots into wind boots of speed, granting a percentage boost to movement speed. Absolute bargain. Holding the gleaming new sword in his hand, He clicked his tongue in regret. If he modified them into holy swords or demonic swords, they would definitely be billions of times stronger. But he immediately crushed that impulsive thought. Considering the security cameras in here, it was best to keep a low profile. After all, in his past life, letting his talent show cost him an exorbitant price. Furthermore, he comforted himself. Low-tier equipment has its upgrade limits. But for me right now, this is more than enough to breeze through. Entering inside, the system panel popped up with a reminder. The training area is divided into 3 sections: Basic Zone, Advanced Zone, and Boss Zone. Please stay in the Basic Zone if you want standard training. Skipping the Newbie Zone, he glided straight into the deeper regions. Those seeking greater challenges could enter the Advanced Zone. And to break the clearance record, I have to enter the Boss Zone and butcher a boss steer charging rabbit. Stepping across the boundary, hordes of monsters appeared with glowing red eyes, growling in the bushes. The system instantly scanned the information. Low-level mature charging rabbit, common demonic creature, possesses crystal armor grown on its head, allowing it to deal massive damage by charging. Extremely aggressive. Stroking the blade of his steel sword, he pumped himself up. My goal is to reach a new level right here. I'll probably need to slaughter at least hundreds of them. The pack of rabid rabbits shrieked crazily, baring their teeth as they rushed forward to claim a newbie's life. Standing before hundreds of monsters charging like a tidal wave, Jiang Yan calmly took a stance. He mapped out his leveling route. Only after reaching the required level would he be qualified to challenge the next stage, the Wind Wolf Den. A rabbit lunged forward and was instantly chopped away by him. He thought smugly, even though that place is a nightmare for newbies, it's a perfect leveling ground for me. Instantly, he charged into the monster pack like a whirlwind, sword light flashing as he cut down rabbits fluttering around like autumn leaves. While frantically butchering, he happily thought, at this rate, it might push me straight to a higher level in a heartbeat. And at that level, I'll unlock that legendary ultimate skill. An illusion of an overpowered skill flashed in his mind. A high-tier awakened innate skill. A theoretical god-tier skill capable of creating supreme demonic beasts. Slashing down another dozen monsters, his eyes burned with fire. By then I can become even stronger. While grinding intensely, he suddenly remembered his arch-nemesis. Speaking of Yang Huangwei, the guy who always held a grudge against me in the past life, he's probably starting his awakening right now, too. Delivering a heaven-shattering blow to the ground to wipe out the rabbits, he clicked his tongue. As soon as he finishes awakening, he'll definitely come looking for trouble with me. At the same time, the view shifted back to the awakening plaza. The loudspeaker boomed. Next, student from Nanrong No. 1 High School, Class 12A1, Yang Huangwei. He stepped up onto the platform. Sweat poured off him like rain, and trembling hands screamed inwardly. Damn it, even if I only draw a decent class, as long as it's better than that trash F-rank of Jiang Yan's, I'm the winner. Right after finishing his prayer, a colossal, dazzling magic light pillar erupted violently, swallowing the figure of the male student dreaming of surpassing others. Instantly, the glowing words Berserker appeared midair in huge letters. The stats panel lit up grandly. Name: Yang Huangwei, Nanrong No. 1 High School. High Energy Compatibility, Awakened Class, a rank Main Combat Berserker. He spread his arms wide, tilted his head back, and laughed madly. Ha ha ha, I won. The crowd below instantly buzzed, dropping jaws in shock. An A-rank Main Combat Class. Everyone whispered. He played second fiddle to Jiang Yan for all these years, yet now he actually flipped the script and climbed to the top. He smoothed his jacket, chin raised arrogantly as he proclaimed, from this second onward, no one is allowed to call me second best anymore. The corners of his mouth twitched into a sly grin, hands clenched triumphantly. Now Class 12A1 has only one top dog. Thumping his chest, he pointed his thumb at his face and shouted smugly, and that's me, Yang Huangwei. The lackeys swarmed forward with flattering praises. Big bro Yang, you're truly a monster. What does that trash Jiang Yan even have to compete with you anymore? He put his hands in his pockets, swaggering around as he scanned the area. I just awakened an A-rank class after all. Wouldn't it be a huge pity if that F-rank trash wasn't here to witness it? A sycophant chimed in. Maybe Jiang Yan realized how cool Big Bro Yang is and got too scared to hide away in some hole. Ha ha. Right then, a fat kid in the crowd pointed into the distance and snitched. I think I just saw him heading toward the rookie training facility. Seizing the opportunity, Yang Huangwei waved his hand and led the whole crew. Let's go. An F-rank trash like him must be struggling hard at the training facility. We brothers should go give him a hand. The teacher adjusted his glasses and watched them go, sighing bitterly. Give a hand my ass. Clearly, he just wants to go watch Jiang Yan make a fool of himself. Yang Huangwei always relies on his wealthy background to bully others. Jiang Yan is truly doomed this time. Memories of his favorite student rushed back, making the teacher feel even more heartbroken. That kid worked harder than anyone else. I often saw him studying late into the night, pushing himself on the racetrack to a point that hurt just to look at, involuntarily massaging his forehead in helplessness, and even in the energy training room, despite his pain threshold reaching very high levels, he never cried out once. Why would a kid who worked so hard awaken the most useless F-rank classes? Meanwhile, in another corner, a teenager sucking on a lollipop smirked with hidden meaning. My rival, even an F-rank class, won't be enough to hold back his growth. Character info displayed. Wang Qingfeng, Nanrong No. 1 High School, Class 12A9. High school ranking near the top in both academics and combat, just behind Jiang Yan. He muttered, "No one understands better than me. Just how ruthlessly can he push himself?" The lollipop-chewing boy recalled bitter past memories. During the previous year's finals, that guy literally beat me black and blue. An image of Jiang Yan covered in wounds, yet with eyes burning with fighting spirit, flashed across his mind. Wang Qingfeng spat out his lollipop stick. That Yang Huangwei guy seemed to be looking for trouble. He put his hands in his pockets, strolling away with overwhelming aura. The only person allowed to defeat and humiliate the opponent I've acknowledged is me. If anyone else dares to lay a finger on him, just try it. At the same time, the camera panned back inside the dungeon. Jiang Yan was leaning on his sword, panting heavily. Pulling a mob and wiping out a whole group at once was truly too much for his current body to handle. Perched atop a mountain of rabbit corpses, he wiped away his sweat and gave a cold smirk. But it's fine, now only the Rabbit King remains. Take it down, clear this area, and blast myself straight to level 5. No sooner had he finished speaking than a giant monster appeared, roaring. The status window updated immediately. Level 5 Charging Rabbit King. Description: the king of low-level demonic beasts. Elemental crystal armor growing on its head allows its charging attacks to deal extremely aggressive elemental damage. Jiang Yan gritted his teeth, sweat pouring down his face. This is bad, my wounds are acting up this badly. His status window popped up, showing his experience bar nearly full. Opposite him, the Rabbit King's eyes were bloodshot. It pawed at the ground, huffing and puffing as it prepared to unleash its lethal strike. Boom, it lunged forward at wind-tearing speeds, transforming into a massive meat projectile that kicked up a thick cloud of dust. Looking at his heels, worn down from sliding backward to break, he did a quick calculation in his head. If I take it head-on right now, I'm definitely going to lose. Dust swirled everywhere, but his eyes remained razor-sharp. But I've already figured out how to win. The system blared a red alarm. Charging Rabbit King activates innate skill, Blazing Charge. In that split second, life-or-death moment, he raised his hand and snapped his fingers, a cunning smile blossoming on his face as he activated his innate skill, Modify. This is exactly what I've been waiting for. Magical energy instantly interfered with the system. Blazing Charge was modified into Blazing Explosion. Change details. Blazing Charge uses the fire elemental crystal armor on the head to deliver a charge dealing fire attribute damage. Now transformed into Blazing Explosion, causing the fire elemental crystal armor on its head to detonate right at its own skull, dealing massive damage to the enemy and to itself. And so, instead of charging through its enemy, the unfortunate rabbit's head suddenly erupted into a blinding orb of light, literally committing suicide. A blinding explosion ripped through the dungeon space. Jiang Yan stood at the epicenter, brushing some debris off his shirt, and smiled smugly. A self-destruct skill works like a charm, doesn't it? The system window flashed, signaling a rapid level up from level 4 to level 5. Outside the training facility, the crowd stared in shock at the electronic display showing a new record, everyone stuttering. What the hell is this? The giant text blinked. Rabbit Charging Zone Rookie Training Facility record broken. Record holder, Jiang Yan, trial completion time, super short. Yang Huangwei's lackeys screamed in terror. No way, the old record was way longer, he cut the time by more than half. Yang Huangwei's face darkened instantly, his teeth grinding in frustration. HMPH, a piece of F-rank trash, how could he clear the trial that fast? He must have cheated. The sycophants immediately chimed in to stir the pot. Cheating in the training facility? If he gets caught, his reputation will definitely be toast. He folded his arms, acting cocky like a fake god of justice. Then let me, Yang Huangwei, personally rip that fake mask right off his face. While things were chaotic outside, inside, Jiang Yan was leisurely sitting on a rock catching some air, his body glowing with the green light of a healing spell. He muttered, That's enough time to head into the next stage of the training facility. Memories of his past life flooded back, bringing with them the silhouette of a terrifying, massive wolf. He thought to himself, the boss of the next stage is on a completely different level. The Gale Wolf King in his past life, that monster really beat me to a pulp. But now times have changed. He shouldered his high-end sword, striding with an aura of immense killing intent. This time coming back, it's my turn to collect with interest. Standing before the massive building of the next stage, he cracked a smile. Long time no see. Gale Wolf Zone, the literal slaughterhouse for the rookies. You have to know that in this area, the Wolf Pack is already at a superior level, while the Wolf King sits comfortably at the peak of the dungeon. When rookies cluelessly walk in here, they're barely scraping the low levels of the initial stage at best. So for an average rookie, walking in here is nothing more than throwing their life away for some torture. The ferocity of the Gale Wolf Pack is truly terrifying. Still, the bigger the storm, the sweeter the fruit. The rewards in this base are just as monstrous as the power of the monsters. If you can survive and grind here, the experience points you can gobble up are the highest in this stage. Even just clearing the trial by killing the Wolf King allows a player to jump straight to level 10. Usually, a newbie has to grind their teeth for 10 days just to crawl to level 10. Yet, clearing this deadly desert base just once is enough to reach the pinnacle of the rookie stage. Not only that, the most high-end reward upon reaching the level cap is the Awakened being unlocking a second innate skill. Furthermore, they will officially receive a permit to go out into the wild to hunt and grind levels on their own. He smoothed down his shirt, certain that both of those things would be extremely useful for his path to supremacy. So, the sooner he achieves them, the better. Back to reality, the gatekeeper knight looked concernedly at the young man asking to go inside. Kid, are you sure you want to challenge this base alone? Usually, level 8 or 9 rookies have to bring a whole team before they even dare to show their faces here. He sighed, recounting a tragic story. There was once a rookie genius who awakened an A-rank class and tried to play the hero by soloing here, only to end up mortally wounded. In the end, he couldn't even crawl to his college entrance exam. Seeing that gentle persuasion didn't work, the knight's eyes suddenly turned icy cold, cutting straight to the harsh reality. Are you trying to commit suicide? You F-rank trash. Though insulted to his face, Jiang Yan maintained a smile as calm as a tranquil lake. Thanks for the concern, senior, but I've already made my decision. The knight glared at the skinny back sauntering into the portal's shimmering light. Who cares about you? If you want to die, go right ahead, I won't stop you anymore. As he stepped down the dungeon stairs, he brushed off his shirt, thinking about how stinging it was to be looked down upon. But then, his eyes became determined and sharp. I won't stop on my path to becoming the strongest just because of some stray dogs barking by the roadside. No sooner had he finished speaking than a pack of bloodthirsty beasts caught the scent of fresh meat. They bared their sharp fangs, letting out bone-chilling howls as they rushed toward their prey. Completely unfazed, the young man immediately drew his sword and accelerated, charging straight into the middle of the sandstorm battlefield. Swinging his sword, which was flashing with the multicolor pixels of the modification spell, he smirked and roared. Long time no see. Let me jumpstart your memories to see what you guys are really made of. Outside, the gatekeeper knight still stood on the observation deck with his arms crossed, shaking his head in disappointment as he muttered, Level F trash. What a world-class piece of garbage. He thinks if he just charges in head first like that, he'll turn into a genius. What an ignorant, clueless kid. Yet what hit his eyes through the monitoring screen at that moment was Jiang Yan dancing with his sword as if cutting through mud, the wolf pack vanishing in the blink of an eye, followed by a stream of notifications for 10 EXP appearing continuously. The knight stuttered. How is this possible? How can that kid be fighting so effortlessly? Cold sweat broke out on his forehead, his eyes widening in horror as he blurted out. He hasn't even bothered to use his class's innate skill yet. His hands gripped the iron railing until they turned white. Every one of the knight's prejudices collapsed completely, and he tremblingly asked himself, that kid, could he really be an incognito genius? A moment later, in the dark dungeon, fresh blood flowed across the cold ground. Jiang Yan sat perched atop a mountain of wolf corpses stacked high, leaning on his sword planted in the ground, panting. Outside, the gatekeeper knight's eyes widened as he stammered, sweat pouring off him like rain. He's truly a genius. Remembering his own arrogant attitude from earlier, he hurried to slip away. I can't stay here anymore. I just finished mocking him. If he comes out later and sees me, I'll be so ashamed I won't have anywhere to hide. Back in the dungeon, Jiang Yan's body glowed with the healing light. He muttered, the combat intensity here is still too fierce. If it weren't for the healing skill, I would have met my ancestors 800 times over by now. The system window showed Jiang Yan at level 9, with only 0.01% left to level up. Casting his gaze across the blood-soaked battlefield, he assessed that these wolves were several times stronger than the charging rabbit pack. Their speed, strength, and intelligence were on a completely different level. Gripping his blood-stained arm, he gritted his teeth and endured. Although he had used healing, the pain from these wounds didn't diminish at all. But that didn't matter. Yanking the sword that was buried deep in a wolf corpse, his eyes flashed with absolute determination. A massive shadow loomed over him. He roared, "If I want to change the world and my own destiny, what's a little bit of pain? Now is the time for a battle between kings." Ahead, the Wolf King bared its gruesome jaws with bone-chilling neon green eyes as it lunged. The status window dropped immediately. Gale Wolf King, level 10. King of low-level demonic beasts. Born with fur that resonates with wind elements, allowing it to borrow the wind's power to increase its movement speed to terrifying levels. With sweat beading on his forehead, Jiang Yan analyzed that this Wolf King possessed two whole skills: Wind Speed and Gale Claw. The system clearly showed its overpowered stats. Wind Speed increases self-speed by 20 points, while Gale Claw launches wind claws from a distance, dealing 110% physical damage. Way too overpowered. He frowned and considered carefully. There weren't many openings to apply modification to these two skills of its. If he stubbornly tried to modify them blindly, he might screw it up and create a bug. The monster growled, stomping on the ground and rushing over like a hurricane. He pondered then, what should I do in this situation? Fap, Jiang Yan swung his hand, ripping off his torn shirt that was getting in the way. What else? Just solve it the way a real man would. The sharp Gale Claw tore through the air as it lunged. He smiled arrogantly and accelerated. Besides possessing a god-tier innate skill, I'm also the top-ranked student in the whole school in both academics and practical combat, kid. No sooner had he finished speaking than he charged straight at the monster with his sword. The scene quickly shifted outside the rabbit charging zone. Yang Huangwei and his lackey stood there panting, their faces deathly pale. Damn it, almost died, lucky we called for help just in time. Oh my God, being alive is so great. The gatekeeper knight stood with his hands on his hips, mocking them. You newbies love to play tough. Why do you trashy rookies dare to poke around in high-level zones? Why don't you obediently grind levels in the basic zone? Humiliated and furious, Yang Huangwei ground his teeth. Why? Why did I have a whole team and still couldn't even crawl to the boss zone? How in the hell could that F-rank piece of trash Jiang Yan clear the trial? He furiously punched the unlucky lackey in the chest. He must have cheated 100%. Suddenly, the electronic display beeped again, signaling that the record for the Gale Wolf zone had just been broken. Still Jiang Yan. Time, 29 minutes 8 seconds. The lackeys were in extreme panic. Boss, the old record was 1 hour and 29 minutes. That Jiang Yan, he cut off an entire hour. Staring at the glowing screen, Yang Huangwei's back exuded insane levels of envy. His face twisted into an evil smile. Good. If you dare to cheat so blatantly, don't blame me for being ruthless in the next step. He signaled for his lackeys to follow him. Let's go. Let's head up to the Gale Wolf zone to cheer for our dear classmate. This time I'll make sure you're completely disgraced. The camera zoomed back into the dungeon. A blood-stained sword was buried deep through the skull of the massive Wolf King. The battle had ended. Under the brilliant golden light of the leveling matrix, Jiang Yan stood shirtless, showing off his muscles, and let out a long breath. Finally crawled to level 10. The second innate skill has officially been awakened. System exploded with notifications. Ting! Added artisan system innate skill durability received. Added farmer system innate skill grafting received. Current level LV10. Progress 0.3%. HP 220. Mana 1900. Spirit 245. Attack 210. Critical 10. Armor penetration +5. Defense 134. Speed 202 +10 +2 mana compatibility 100%. Awakened profession artisan farmer. Artisan system classification. Innate skill tier modify regenerate durability new. Grafting new. Giving a cold smile, the scarred boy muttered in satisfaction. Finally got this skill. Onto the cutting board. Activate innate skill. Modify. Tick-tock, the grafting skill was enchanted and transformed into grafting all things. The system flashed red. A god-tier skill used to breed the ultimate contracted demonic beast had officially fallen into his hands. The detailed explanation appeared. Grafting all things level 1. Consumes 200 mana. Graft the genes of 2 living organisms to randomly create a new, transcendent life form or a piece of junk. Current success rate 10%. Note, the higher the level, the more species that can be grafted, and the greater the chance of producing a divine beast. Rubbing his chin as he envisioned the future, Jiang Yan thought happily. When this skill reaches max level, the rate of producing transcendent goods is 100% absolute. Although there are some limitations, this is still the most unparalleled god-tier innate skill. He associated it with the demonic beasts flying in the sky. Beasts are already powerful, and they could potentially achieve even stronger racial abilities. Creating an S-rank heaven-defying beast by using 2 A-rank ones is very possible. His smile grew even more cunning. Not only that, if I use another Beast Tamer scroll to sign a contract, I'll have the most loyal and ferocious combat pet immediately. Remembering the old grudges, his eyes turned freezing cold. All the great achievements you guys stole by exploiting me in the past life. Images of the ragged shadow having to kneel to service and repair gear for the powerful dogs flashed in his dark memories. Gripping the blood-stained sword handle against his chest, he roared in his thoughts. In this life, everything will become my own absolute power. The shirtless young man shouldered his sword and looked at the pile of wolf corpses, nodding in agreement. Not a bad harvest, probably time to head back. Suddenly, a glowing green stone fell from a carcass, making his eyes light up. It even dropped a magic core. These things sell for a ton of money. The drop rate is extremely low, and if you slam them into your gear, they buff your effects like crazy. He clicked his tongue in regret. It's a shame that magic cores dropped in the training facility are the association's property. But it doesn't matter. Now that I'm level 10, I have the special privilege of stepping out into the wild area outside the Devil's Rift. Thinking about the freedom of hunting, his face beamed like a flower. Any magic core or material I find out there will fall straight into my pocket. The problem of being broke is about to be solved thoroughly. While daydreaming, the pain pulled him back to reality. Tusk, these wounds aren't fatal, so the reincarnation innate skill can't be activated to heal itself. Going to the hospital costs a fortune, and unfortunately I'm penniless right now. He stared at the bleeding scratch on his chest, a crazy thought crossing his mind. Maybe the best way right now is to just take my sword and kill myself to activate reincarnation so my health refills. Looking at the knights cleaning up nearby, he quickly snuffed out the twisted idea. But if I suddenly pull out my sword and slit my own throat in front of these guards, it'll definitely cause a huge scene. Nodding to himself, he turned on his heels and decided. Forget it. It's best to find a desolate place with no one around and silently end my own life to be safe. Thought was action. The young man with the earth-shattering, injury-healing logic leisurely carried his sword and stepped out of the dungeon gate. Just as he poked his head out into the plaza, a scene of crowding beyond imagination hit his eyes instantly. He blinked blankly, wondering, strange, why are so many people crowded here all of a sudden? Before he could process it, a male student in the crowd excitedly pointed and shouted loudly. Look there, it's Jiang Yan, the newbie who just set the new record. He clicked his tongue, realizing he had become famous against his will. So the upperclassmen were attracted here just because of my record-breaking stunt. The crowd began to swarm in larger and larger numbers. He thought to himself while breaking into a cold sweat. There are too many people here right now. I definitely can't pull out my sword and kill myself to activate reincarnation. The wounds on his body began to bleed worse. He gritted his teeth and endured the pain. The injuries are getting worse, but if I start hacking myself in front of everyone like this, I'll definitely be dragged straight to a mental hospital. Clutching his chest, he waded through the noisy crowd, grimacing as he looked for a way to slip away. I've got to find a way to shake off this crowd. Just as he was stuck, a brilliant golden light in the shape of angel wings suddenly descended from the sky. The whole crowd let out a gasp of surprise, staring and shouting. That's the S-rank support class Holy Angel. Amidst that radiant halo, a stunningly beautiful female student with glowing wings appeared. The eldest daughter of the Yao family, Yao Kexin. The boys around started whispering. She's from the prestigious Yao family. Can't believe the goddess personally came here. The warm magical light covered Jiang Yan, instantly soothing all his pain and soreness. He sighed in relief. Whoa, this magic is saving me a ton of trouble. The goddess retracted her wings, blinked her long lashes, and looked at the record holder covered in injuries with eyes as still as a tranquil lake. Feeling the refreshment spreading throughout his body, Jiang Yan politely nodded. My wounds have almost completely healed. Thank you. He smiled and made a very practical offer. Since you treated me this time, later on, I'll take care of all your equipment repairs for free. Healing is exactly the support skill I've been craving but didn't have. Maybe we can cooperate for the long term. Hearing a repairman say that, Kexin didn't act arrogant at all but just gave a gentle smile. Don't worry about this little thing. Then if my gear gets damaged later, I'll have to count on you. The romantic atmosphere had barely lasted 3 seconds before a sour voice cut through. Yang Huangwei pushed through the crowd aggressively. Tusk, 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 look who it is. Turns out it's the mongrel swindler. He waved his hands and pointed, his neck straining as he yelled at the crowd gathering around. Everyone, don't let this little brat fool you. He tilted his chin up to the clouds, loudly trashing him. His Godspeed trial record is actually just a cheap cheating trick, because his true nature is just a piece of F-rank trash with 2 tiny, bean-sized classes. The crowd around gasped and chattered excitedly. What an F-rank awakened! F-rank is the crafting system, they don't have any combat ability. They whispered louder and louder, and he still soloed the trial. He even broke the record. Seeing the public opinion begin to turn against Jiang Yan, Yang Huangwei stood with his hands on his hips, loudly accusing him. That is completely impossible, unless he bought a super overpowered set of equipment to hack the game. He stepped forward, getting his face close to Jiang Yan's, his smirk full of contempt. After struggling for 3 years in high school without being able to surpass me, now you're pulling this pathetic, underhanded trick to fool me. He tossed his hand toward Jiang Yan, loudly trashing him in front of everyone. Everyone here knows very well that this guy is dirt poor. He pointed straight at his opponent, slandering him maliciously. That just proves he's not poor at all. He's been scamming the school's financial aid money for a long time to buy high-end equipment. The crowd immediately flipped, agitated and angry. Scamming poor relief money? That's truly disgusting. Oh my God, so this is the truth. Jiang Yan folded his arms across his chest, closed his eyes, and laughed sarcastically. Interesting. So you want me to prove that I didn't cheat, huh? Seeing the fish take the bait, Yang Huangwei roared triumphantly. That's right. Take off your high-end gear and fight me one-on-one. He gestured with his thumb to his own chest, challenging him arrogantly. If you win, it proves you didn't cheat. Just as the atmosphere was as tense as a drawn bowstring, Kexin panicked and stepped in front of Jiang Yan. Jiang Yan, don't fall for his trap. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. Jiang Yan just smiled and turned back, raising a hand to scratch his head in embarrassment. Thanks for worrying about me. But the young man suddenly drew his sword and slammed it deep into the ground, his smile vanishing and being replaced by an icy, sharp gaze. Fine, I accept your challenge. His gaze became as sharp as a razor, muttering to himself. It's best to solve this thorn in my side right here, right now, before he causes more trouble and blocks my level-grinding path. Hearing his agreement, Yang Huangwei looked up to the sky and roared with laughter. Ridiculous! Trash like you dares to challenge an A-rank berserker. Yang Huangwei immediately activated his berserk skill, his whole body turning bright red with fire, and screamed. Jiang Yan, I'm going to punch your teeth out all over the ground and rip that fake mask of yours off. Note, the berserk skill burns 1% HP per minute to buff 30% of all stats. Jiang Yan leisurely stepped out of the dungeon gate, smirking and tossing the other guy a casual sentence. Quite an energetic spirit. Hope you can still keep that trashy mouth of yours after a while. Looking coldly at the guy burning with fire in front of him, Jiang Yan secretly mocked him. Trying to use the high-class profession label to crush me. Too bad for you. To you, a profession is the ultimate weapon, but to me, it's just frosting on a cake. He cracked his knuckles and casually announced, Let me teach you a real lesson. The truly strong are strong even without awakening a profession. He braced himself, his energy burning wildly like a volcanic eruption, preparing to lunge and bite. Kexin stood outside, pale with anxiety, her hands clasped tightly together. Taking an F-rank crafting class to fight an A-rank combat class. This battle is completely unfair. Ignoring the dissuasion, Jiang Yan took a fighting stance, his expression unusually calm. All I need to do right now is punch you down. Luckily, before leaving the base, I used Modify to restore all my gear to its original state. He spread his arms wide, looking empty-handed, calmly thinking. So I don't have to worry at all about them figuring out anything unusual. Right now, I don't have a single piece of equipment on me. Seeing his opponent empty-handed, Yang Huangwei lunged with a crazy smile. HMPH, good. The day of your demise has finally arrived. He swung a burning red punch that brushed past Jiang Yan's face, but he had already dodged it as lightly as a feather. The lackeys gasped. He dodged it. Yang Huangwei was furious, swinging his fists like a storm. I don't believe it. He screamed in frustration. I can't believe you dodged every one of my punches. The burning red punches continuously tore through the wind. Jiang Yan still leisurely dodged left and right, sliding around like a butterfly among flowers, thinking. An A-rank combatant is truly a powerful character class. Jiang Yan just smiled faintly. But throwing attacks aimlessly without hitting the target is just worthless junk. He continued to dodge a hook, thinking, waving fists blindly like this only wastes energy for nothing. During our 3 years together in school, I've already got this brutish fighting style of yours down pat. Taking advantage of his opponent losing momentum, Jiang Yan clenched his fist and launched a steel-like punch straight into the center of Yang Huangwei's face. But you've never been able to see through me. Pop, a sharp sound echoed out. He took a critical hit, blood spraying from his nose, his teeth flying everywhere, and he staggered back a few steps, roaring in pain. Ah, what the hell? How can this be? The powerful punch sent the berserker flying backward, slamming him to the ground in a heap, much to the astonishment of the hundreds of onlookers. The lackeys screamed in panic. Boss. Jiang Yan stood up, dusted off his hands, and dropped a devastatingly savage remark. Seems like in the end I'm still a cut above you. The crowd buzzed, unable to believe their eyes. The sycophants clutched their heads in despair. This is impossible. An F-rank crafting class just punched out an A-rank berserker. Having finished off his rival, Jiang Yan casually dusted his hands. That's that. No reason to waste any more time here. Shouldering his sword, he strode off with his head held high, leaving the crowd behind as he calculated in his head. I'll be heading out to the wild zone soon. First, I need to get myself some decent gear. A confident curve formed at the corner of his mouth. With the modify skill in my hands, getting my hands on top-tier gear won't be a problem at all. He scratched his neck, pondering. But I've already returned the starter gear the guild provided. The first step is to buy some cheap junk to use as fodder for modification. I should probably stroll around the stalls and see what I can find. Pulling out his wallet, he gloomily stared at the lone coins lying in his palm. But with this flat wallet, even just walking around the stalls is going to be a tough challenge. Suddenly, a fist whistled through the air from behind, aiming straight for his head. Without a hint of panic, Jiang Yan just indifferently reached out and caught the target in the blink of an eye. He glared at the one who had thrown it and grumbled, "Is this your usual cat-and-mouse game again?" Wang Qingfeng sauntered over, laughing heartily. "Impressive. You're worthy of being the one who's dominated the top spot in both academics and practical combat for 3 years straight." He raised his hand in a friendly greeting. "Rival catch." Popping open a soda can, Jiang Yan asked bluntly, "You were standing there watching when I thrashed Yang Huangwei earlier, weren't you?" Wang Qingfeng shrugged and replied, "Of course. If you couldn't handle him, I would have had to step in to save the day." Qingfeng's eyes suddenly turned serious. "After all, you're the only rival I acknowledge. Aside from trash like Yang Huangwei, I don't even bother giving them a glance." Jiang Yan smirked and replied cryptically, "But I wasn't even fighting for real back then." That sentence dragged them both back to their fateful duel in 10th grade. Back then, Wang Qingfeng had been beaten to a pulp, raising his hand in helpless surrender. "I give up." Returning to the present, Jiang Yan tilted his head back for a sip, teasing, "Ever since that match, you voluntarily quit every year." He looked at his classmate and lowered his voice sincerely. "You intentionally let me have the first-place scholarship, didn't you? After all, you're a rich young master with money to burn. You don't need these peanuts." Qingfeng laughed and waved his hand in denial. "That's not it at all. It's simply because of the look in your eyes when you fight. It's just too ruthless." Jiang Yan raised an eyebrow, probing. "So, if the two of us cross paths in this year's National Rookie Tournament, are you planning to surrender again?" Wang Qingfeng flashed a radiant but fiery smile. "Keep dreaming. That will absolutely not happen. This year I'm going to punch you until your teeth fall out. You won't even be able to pick them up in time." The two boys' eyes met, sparks of enthusiasm flying. Jiang Yan clinked his ken against his friend. "Fine by me. I'll meet you with everything I've got." After saying that, Qingfeng suddenly pulled out a powerful black card and tossed it to Jiang Yan. "There's 2,000 yuan in here. Consider it me buying the high-speed trial completion strategy you used in the Gale Wolf Zone." The young master turned his back and walked away, not forgetting to wave. "Don't forget to copy that strategy and get it to me soon." Catching the black card in his hand, Jiang Yan watched his friend walk away and replied softly, "You got it." He smiled slightly, secretly engraving this favor in his heart. "I'll remember this debt of gratitude. One day I'll definitely pay you back tenfold." Stowing the card in his pocket, the skis in his mind suddenly brightened. "Now that I've got sponsorship money, I can finally take a lap around the stalls." His steps became hurried and excited. He licked his lips. "Let's see if there are any treasures waiting for me to snatch up." Before long, he was lost in the underground black market, chaotic, suffocating, yet bustling with people. Striding past the makeshift tarp stalls, he scanned his memory. "This is the market that sells the cheapest junk I remember. Most of the stuff here is basic trash. The chances of finding gold in the dirt are extremely slim. But his eyes became sharp like a hunting hawk. It's not entirely impossible, though. He stopped in front of a rather strange stall, where a boss wearing sunglasses sat cross-legged, distractedly sitting next to a cardboard sign with a scrawl, "Selling old weapons." What caught Jiang Yan's eye immediately was a sword emitting a biting, icy aura, a cold demon sword embedded with a Gale Wolf magic core. The status window reported, E-rank gear, level 10, durability 72%. Melee attacks have a freezing slowdown effect. Pretty decent. Seeing a customer eyeing it, the stall boss immediately shouted a firm price. 18,000 yuan, that's the final price. If its durability were at 100%, I'd have to sell it for at least 25,000. Jiang Yan broke into a cold sweat and groaned internally. I knew it. A total ripoff. Shifting his attention to a rusty garbage sword stuck next to it, he asked, "What about this one?" The vendor lazily replied, "That one's 5,000. System says it's an E-rank bronze sword, durability 62%. The corners of Jiang Yan's mouth twitched into a smirk. He launched a lightning-fast negotiation. "If I repair the durability of that cold demon sword to maximum, you have to give me this bronze sword for free." Deal. The stall boss was startled, pushing his sunglasses down to peer suspiciously at the student. "Huh, you have that kind of trick up your sleeve?" Without another word, Jiang Yan immediately calculated. System, activate durability skill. An orb of magical light appeared in his hand, lighting up the whole street corner. "Whether it works or not, trying doesn't hurt, right, brother?" Even though he was cajoling on the surface, this slippery young man's brain was churning with schemes. "From the very beginning, my target was never that cold demon sword." His eyes were glued to the rusty sword, glowing with greed. "My real target is the Kingang sword camouflaged inside it, because once that item is in my hands, with just one use of modify, that piece of scrap iron will instantly transform into a legendary divine weapon that will shake the world." The vendor was still skeptical, pushing his sunglasses up to examine him. "What rank is your profession, kid? Do you really have the durability skill? The trick of restoring weapon durability requires extreme precision. The difficulty level isn't exactly a joke." The stall boss sneered, looking at the brilliant orb in Jiang Yan's hand and declaring flatly, "Repairman, F-rank technical profession." He thumped his chest proudly, showing off to the student. "I'm a technical profession too, and an even better one, I'm a D-rank blacksmith." Pointing at the pile of junk on the tarp, he acted like a senior offering advice. "I know way more about weapons than you do, but even I wouldn't dare guarantee that I could restore its durability. I'm only telling you this because you're a student." Actually, Jiang Yan knew a basic principle of this world. Once a weapon's durability drops to 0, it's considered completely junk. He muttered, assessing the situation like a true expert. Restoring durability requires sensing the weapon's structure, needing a clear understanding of the magic power within it before it can be reconstructed. The man in sunglasses kept blustering with threats, setting a price as a precaution. "Once the repair fails, the durability will drop even more miserably. So if you mess it up, you have to pay me 18,000. How about that?" Kexin, who was eavesdropping in the crowd, suddenly muttered in agreement. "That vendor isn't wrong. Even the B-rank pseudo-professionals in my guild wouldn't be able to easily restore weapon durability." Jiang Yan didn't bother arguing, just placed his hand on the blade and calmly replied, "Then try to open your eyes wide and watch carefully." Magical light erupted in a blinding flash. He smirked with the pride of a reincarnated soul. "In my past life, the things I repaired for the big shots were all A-rank, even S-rank artifacts." Memories of grinding flooded back while he performed the skill. Normally, those who awaken as F-rank repairmen would just give up and lie down, ignoring life. But in my past life, because of my habit of wanting to do everything to the best of my ability, I risked my life to hone this durability skill. Jiang Yan gave a radiant, confident smile. "And now, that habit is one of my most effective trump cards." The stream of magic power flowed smoothly according to his masterfully skilled lead. "These 3 low-level pieces of junk, repairing them is just as easy as flipping my hand." The surrounding crowd gasped, instantly buzzing with amazement. "Too epic. Clearly just a student, but those moves are so smooth. F-rank profession? How on earth did such a master pop up?" Kexin also stared wide-eyed, unblinking. "I thought when he said he'd repair my gear earlier, he was just being polite. Who would have guessed he could actually do it?" Jiang Yan retracted his hand, casually handing back the perfectly repaired item. "There you go, all fixed." The stall boss quickly took off his sunglasses, caressing the sword like he'd just unearthed a gold mine. "Brother, I really had eyes but couldn't recognize a true talent. You're truly a rare genius. Keeping his promise, even though he felt a pang of regret in his heart, he pressed the rusty bronze sword into his hand. Take it. It's yours now. Jiang Yan secretly celebrated, turned to leave, and added a faint smile. Then many thanks. Next, I only need to modify one character, and it will instantly transform into a pseudo-divine weapon. Instantly, his hand flashed. God Skill Modify activated. System notification, the old name has been changed. Gang replaced with Hong. The King Gang sword is renamed the King Hong sword. The glorious beauty of the sword shone brilliantly in the ambitious man's mind. That is the legendary divine sword from ancient times. It once lived and died with a divine general, fighting its way in and out of the enemy's encirclement 7 times. Stowing the priceless treasure in his storage, the young man began a very practical family economic calculation. Weapon acquired. The 2,000 yuan in my pocket can finally be saved. After all, there's still a huge tuition fee to pay for college. His gaze softened, becoming tender as he thought of his little sister. Because of our parents' sudden passing, my little sister still hasn't been able to overcome the shock. He sighed heavily, bearing the burden of a big brother on his shoulders. Even though I know her future will be extraordinary. For now, she's still just an autistic little girl. Before I go to college, I have to prepare some living expenses for this silly little thing. Classmate Jiang Yan, can I hire you to carry me? Interrupted in his train of thought, Jiang Yan turned his head, raising an eyebrow curiously. This voice sounds familiar. Turns out it was the pretty girl from the crowd earlier. She offered a number that nearly made the young man choke. If you agree, I can pay you 50,000 yuan. Just carry me to level 10. Naturally, how could Jiang Yan refuse this juicy deal? Of course that works. The girl breathed a sigh of relief. Awesome. He gave a wide, bright smile, inwardly cheering like he'd just hit the jackpot. Truly, when you're sleepy, someone hands you a pillow. Money just threw itself at my door. Not stopping there, this young little heiress immediately turned to the weapon stall to go shopping. Boss, please get me that cold demon sword. I'll buy it. The stall boss quickly put on his arrogant persona, shouting in sky-high price. 25,000. The durability is at 100% now. Are you sure you want to buy it, miss? Kexin gently pulled a stack of money out of thin air, causing the boss to jump and break into a cold sweat. You can count it again. The stall boss's jaw dropped. It's a storage ring, turns out. It's actually the daughter of a prestigious family. The stall boss now humbled himself, bowing low and carefully offering the cold demon sword with both hands like an offering. Please, miss, take it. Jiang Yan glanced at the fawning flip-flop of the vendor and secretly sneered. These street vendors have really never seen anyone with money. You can tell from the way this girl dresses that she's covered in expensive brands. If not, how could I have believed she could swipe 50,000 yuan for me? After paying, Kexin used both hands to laboriously hug the oversized greatsword, stumbling along and looking pitifully cute. But Jiang Yan was busy planning a bigger scheme in his head. When he carries her, maybe he can take advantage of her support skills. Go challenge a boss that I never dared to face in my past life. Who knows, maybe I'll be able to gobble up another level. Struggling to walk up to him, the girl panted, shyly offering the sword. Jiang Yan, consider this sword a gift for meeting you. Please don't look down on it. Jiang Yan was stunned for a second, his heart fluttering slightly. Buying gifts for me again. Well, this heiress seems to be very reasonable and knows the ropes. Without putting on airs, the young man reached out and grabbed the cold demon sword as if it were light as a feather. Then I won't stand on ceremony. The girl smiled faintly and replied, Thank you. Yao Kexin watched his back, her eyes shining with the gentle, calculating look of someone born into power. As long as you like it, even though he's only an F-rank profession. I always have a feeling that this person's future is so bright it's immeasurable. Better help him out first. Consider it planting a seed of goodwill. With the top gear in hand, Jiang Yan shouldered his sword and marched forward, full of spirit. No time to waste. I'm taking you straight to the rookie training zone. The girl nodded happily and followed. In no time, both of them stood before the massive property of the rookie training zone. Without saying much, Jiang Yan charged in, slaughtering the rabbit monsters like mincing vegetables. The experience points jumped continuously, causing Kexin to exclaim, The speed is just too fast. She leisurely leached experience points, instantly leveling up from level 3 to level 5. Continuing the winning streak, the sword swung, splitting a massive Gale Wolf in two. The system immediately jumped with bright red notifications. Jiang Yan, Yao Kexin broke the time record for the rabbit charging trial. Jiang Yan, Yao Kexin broke the time record for the Gale Wolf trial. The gold achievement board at the center of the training zone flickered continuously, announcing the names of the two who had just swept. and set a new record. The students standing below watched with jaws dropped, buzzing with chatter. That monster Jiang Yan broke the record again. This time it looks like he's carrying a girl with him too. Yao Kexin. Could it be the one from the famous Yao family? A young man blankly scratched his head and asked, "Which Yao family?" making the friend next to him roll his eyes. Because that family's background is so terrifying that anyone who hears it shudders in fear. They're one of the 10 great national merchant guilds, the Dali Merchant Guild. The boss of that massive guild is surnamed Yao. On a battlefield filled with yellow sand, the Yao heiress leaned on her staff, panting, her legs turning to jelly and threatening to collapse. "I'm still missing a tiny bit of EXP to reach level 10. Do you want to take a break for a second?" Jiang Yan turned back and replied calmly without a shred of pity. "Keep moving while you rest. Given your current physical condition, there definitely shouldn't be any issues." The status window reported that he had reached level 13. Jiang Yan's eyes burned with massive ambition. The image of the terrifying monster flashed in his mind. "Since I've got your giant S-rank support buff, I want to try a challenge." A wild smile bloomed on the young man's brave face. "The only base among all the rookie training grounds that reaches sea-level danger. The gloomy wild boar base." Immediately after, both stood before a massive, fortified gate, towering and emitting a gloomy, deadly atmosphere. The wild boar training base. The supervisor saw him and warned, "Jiang Yan, I know you're very talented, even though you've swept and broken the completion time records for other bases. But the gloomy wild boar king, its lethality is far more dangerous than the charging rabbit and the gale wolf." Jiang Yan shouldered his sword, shrugged casually, and looked down on everything. "The greater the risk, the greater the reward. If you don't dare to take a bet, you'll never have a better opportunity." He glanced at the girl timidly hugging her staff beside him, smugly sealing the deal. "Not to mention, I've now got an S-rank nanny supporting me. This is truly a once-in-a-thousand-years opportunity." The blinding light gate opened. The supervisor sighed and gave way. "Then I wish you both luck." Jiang Yan strode inside, his demeanor as heroic as a god out for a walk. "I'll take those kind words from you." Stepping through the gate, both of them were swallowed into a dense, chillingly silent forest. Kexin looked around, panicked. "Huh, how come I don't see any small monsters blocking the way?" Jiang Yan stopped, his eyes becoming as sharp as a hawk locking onto its prey. "Because in this base there are no small monsters at all. There's only one boss here." Kexin's face turned pale, she jumped and swallowed hard. "Just only one boss here." The ground suddenly shook violently. Jiang Yan reached out and gripped the handle of the cold demon sword, his voice turning cold and dropping. "He's here." A massive black shadow appeared, bringing a suffocating pressure that blanketed the entire space. Kexin trembled and retreated, blurting out, "Monster! The monster is so big." Meanwhile, Jiang Yan smirked radiantly, his fighting spirit boiling over. "This guy is finally worthy of being my opponent." The Boar King roared in intimidation, its eyes flashing with blood-red, deadly intent. The system status window immediately flashed an alarm. Level 15 Gloomy Fire Wild Boar King. Innate skill, Gloomy Fire Fierce Charge. It carries a tyrannical blue fire with temperatures reaching 200 degrees Celsius. He took his defensive stance, coldly instructing his nanny behind him. "Stay prepared, cast Holy Light Healing on me." Kexin nodded seriously. Yes, not letting the opponent make the first move, Jiang Yan lunged forward like an arrow piercing the wind. Dealing with powerful monsters, he jumped into the air, pouring all his strength into his legs. "You have to seize the initiative." The sword swung, drawing a sharp semicircle, borrowing gravity and rotational force to slash at its throat. But that clever boar seemed to have sniffed out the killing intent, quickly raising its neck to block. Two streams of power collided, sparks flying wildly in midair. Jiang Yan frowned, calculating his next move. "It jumped, so I couldn't slash its throat. This boar is actually pretty smart." However, finding a way out of the difficulty, this sly young man immediately came up with a cunning scheme. "But I can seize the moment while in the air." Modify the Kingang sword. Yao Kexin absolutely won't discover it. His eyes flashed with magic. The familiar mantra rang out with authority, triggering the modify skill. Golden light shimmered and covered the blade. The character Gang bent into Hong. Jiang Yan sneered and roared. "Kingang sword modified to Kinghang sword. You could block the Kingang sword, but you absolutely cannot block the Kinghang sword." In the blink of an eye, the scrap iron leveled up into A+ rank treasure. The Kinghang sword sued away grade quality. Description: a replica of the sword of a legendary general, but even as a replica it possesses powerful might. Attack attribute plus 300, armor penetration plus 90, agility plus 60 passive, cuts iron like mud. 3% probability to ignore the opponent's armor and directly slash through them. The young man silently analyzed with a look of extreme logic. Sure enough, even a god-tier skill like Modify couldn't directly ignore the laws of physics and create a true divine weapon. Still, for him, this was a super profitable investment, and for now, this was enough. Attack power increased fivefold, plus armor penetration and agility, and it even came with a heaven-defying passive. At this moment, the King Hung's sword slashed down as if to tear the sky apart. Now, the advantage belongs to me. The sharp, cold blade swept across, easily slicing off the monster's massive, steel-hard tusk. The Boar King shrieked in extreme pain, the blue fire on its body flaring wildly with fury. Faster than lightning, Jiang Yan took the chance to swap the sword back to its original state, muttering carefully, "Change it back, don't let Yao Kexin spot the flaw." Watching it all from afar, Kexin couldn't believe her eyes. Is this the power that E-rank gear can do? One sword stroke sliced off the monster's toughest tusk. The heiress's brain began to concoct a divine script. No, absolutely impossible. That wasn't the work of E-rank gear, it was Jiang Yan. Her gaze filled with worship as she looked at that sturdy back. It's because he himself is just too strong. An F-rank profession capable of breaking so many records, his combat techniques must definitely far surpass ordinary combat professions. Jiang Yan turned back to see her vacant expression, breaking into a cold sweat and thinking that the girl seemed to be making up some weird stuff in her head. But why is she standing there like a statue now? He hurriedly shouted to wake the sleepwalking nanny. "Hey, cast holy light on me, otherwise if I slash this boar to death in the next hit, you won't get any share of the experience points." Kexin snapped out of it, frantically waving her staff to chant. "All right, thank you for the reminder, holy light." Instantly wrapped in a super warm light, Jiang Yan lunged, killing intent blazing. "Now let's finish this Boar King." He continued to tinker and explore his own, glitchy, playstyle, using the Modify skill as an instant cast move that could also be considered a novel method of attack. Staring at the sword in his hand, he felt his hands itching to work again. The next strike, let's try modifying its name. What could Hangma, Demon Subduing, be changed into? Demon God, Demon King, or maybe God Slayer Sword? But pausing for a second, his cool head immediately dismissed the wild idea. The status of such a name is too high. Either the modification fails, or it might bite back at me. Better not to risk it. On the other side, the Boar King had gone insane, its whole body ablaze with blue fire, preparing to unleash its finishing move. The Gloomy Fire Boar King activated its innate skill, Gloomy Fire Fierce Charge. Jiang Yan calmly gripped the hilt, serenely facing the Reaper. Right on time, I wanted to end this battle, too. A stream of fierce fire rushed forward at rocket speed, threatening to crush everything in its path. Facing that nightmare, the young man smirked with an extremely cunning look. The Gloomy Fire Fierce Charge is rushing forward intensely. What would be fun to change you into? Got it, that's the one. Jiang Yan tilted his head back slightly to instruct. Yao Kexin, close your eyes. Kexin was extremely bewildered, blinking stupidly and asking, "Why?" Jiang Yan acted like an experienced senior, his voice dropping to protect the beauty's eyes. "Trust me, you definitely don't want to see the next scene." Kexin obediently squeezed her eyes shut, trembling as she replied, Is it very bloody? Okay, that's fine." He calmly held one finger out in front of the violent fire that was about to pounce on him. The young wizard bent the vocabulary by snapping his fingers, uttering a death sentence full of comedic timing. Activate Modify skill, change its Gloomy Fire Fierce Charge into Gloomy Fire Slow Charge to reduce the shock. The system made a pleasant ting sound, modification successful. The fierce blue fire blast suddenly slowed down, creeping inch by inch like a turtle. The Boar King was confused, filled with question marks. Huh! Now a slow-moving pig has basically zero threat. Jiang Yan drew his sword and leaped into the air, a judgmental smile clearly visible. It's over. The powerful punch sent the berserker flying backward, slamming him to the ground in a heap, much to the astonishment of the hundreds of onlookers. The lackeys screamed in panic. "Boss!" Jiang Yan stood up, dusted off his hands, and dropped a devastatingly savage remark. "Seems like in the end I'm still a cut above you." The crowd buzzed, unable to believe their eyes. The sycophants clutched their heads in despair. This is impossible. An F-rank crafting class just punched out an A-rank berserker. Having finished off his rival, Jiang Yan casually dusted his hands. That's that. No reason to waste any more time here. Shouldering his sword, he strode off with his head held high, leaving the crowd behind as he calculated in his head. I'll be heading out to the wild zone soon. First, I need to get myself some decent gear. A confident curve formed at the corner of his mouth. With the modify skill in my hands, getting my hands on top-tier gear won't be a problem at all. He scratched his neck, pondering. But I've already returned the starter gear the guild provided. The first step is to buy some cheap junk to use as fodder for modification. I should probably stroll around the stalls and see what I can find. Pulling out his wallet, he gloomily stared at the lone coins lying in his palm. But with this flat wallet, even just walking around the stalls is going to be a tough challenge. Suddenly, a fist whistled through the air from behind, aiming straight for his head. Without a hint of panic, Jiang Yan just indifferently reached out and caught the target in the blink of an eye. He glared at the one who had thrown it and grumbled, "Is this your usual cat-and-mouse game again?" Wang Qingfeng sauntered over, laughing heartily. "Impressive. You're worthy of being the one who's dominated the top spot in both academics and practical combat for 3 years straight." He raised his hand in a friendly greeting. "Rival catch." Popping open a soda can, Jiang Yan asked bluntly, "You were standing there watching when I thrashed Yang Huangwei earlier, weren't you?" Wang Qingfeng shrugged and replied, "Of course. If you couldn't handle him, I would have had to step in to save the day." Qingfeng's eyes suddenly turned serious. "After all, you're the only rival I acknowledge. Aside from trash like Yang Huangwei, I don't even bother giving them a glance." Jiang Yan smirked and replied cryptically, "But I wasn't even fighting for real back then." That sentence dragged them both back to their fateful duel in 10th grade. Back then, Wang Qingfeng had been beaten to a pulp, raising his hand in helpless surrender. "I give up." Returning to the present, Jiang Yan tilted his head back for a sip, teasing, "Ever since that match, you voluntarily quit every year." He looked at his classmate and lowered his voice sincerely. "You intentionally let me have the first-place scholarship, didn't you? After all, you're a rich young master with money to burn. You don't need these peanuts." Qingfeng laughed and waved his hand in denial. "That's not it at all. It's simply because of the look in your eyes when you fight. It's just too ruthless." Jiang Yan raised an eyebrow, probing. "So, if the two of us cross paths in this year's National Rookie Tournament, are you planning to surrender again?" Wang Qingfeng flashed a radiant but fiery smile. "Keep dreaming. That will absolutely not happen. This year I'm going to punch you until your teeth fall out. You won't even be able to pick them up in time." The two boys' eyes met, sparks of enthusiasm flying. Jiang Yan clinked his ken against his friend. "Fine by me. I'll meet you with everything I've got." After saying that, Qingfeng suddenly pulled out a powerful black card and tossed it to Jiang Yan. "There's 2,000 yuan in here. Consider it me buying the high-speed trial completion strategy you used in the Gale Wolf Zone." The young master turned his back and walked away, not forgetting to wave. "Don't forget to copy that strategy and get it to me soon." Catching the black card in his hand, Jiang Yan watched his friend walk away and replied softly, "You got it." He smiled slightly, secretly engraving this favor in his heart. "I'll remember this debt of gratitude. One day I'll definitely pay you back tenfold." Stowing the card in his pocket, the skis in his mind suddenly brightened. "Now that I've got sponsorship money, I can finally take a lap around the stalls." His steps became hurried and excited. He licked his lips. "Let's see if there are any treasures waiting for me to snatch up." Before long, he was lost in the underground black market, chaotic, suffocating, yet bustling with people. Striding past the makeshift tarp stalls, he scanned his memory. "This is the market that sells the cheapest junk I remember. Most of the stuff here is basic trash. The chances of finding gold in the dirt are extremely slim." But his eyes became sharp like a hunting hawk. "It's not entirely impossible, though." He stopped in front of a rather strange stall, where a boss wearing sunglasses sat cross-legged, distractedly sitting next to a cardboard sign with a scrawl, "Selling old weapons." What caught Jiang Yan's eye immediately was a sword emitting a biting, icy aura, a cold demon sword embedded with a Gale Wolf magic core. The status window reported, E-rank gear, level 10, durability 72%. Melee attacks have a freezing slowdown effect. Pretty decent. Seeing a customer eyeing it, the stall boss immediately shouted a firm price. 18,000 yuan, that's the final price. If its durability were at 100%, I'd have to sell it for at least 25,000. Jiang Yan broke into a cold sweat and groaned internally. "I knew it. A total ripoff." Shifting his attention to a rusty garbage sword stuck next to it, he asked, "What about this one?" The vendor lazily replied, "That one's 5,000. System says it's an E-rank bronze sword, durability 62%. The corners of Jiang Yan's mouth twitched into a smirk. He launched a lightning-fast negotiation. "If I repair the durability of that cold demon sword to maximum, you have to give me this bronze sword for free." "Deal." The stall boss was startled, pushing his sunglasses down to peer suspiciously at the student. "Huh, you have that kind of trick up your sleeve?" Without another word, Jiang Yan immediately calculated. System, activate durability skill. An orb of magical light appeared in his hand, lighting up the whole street corner. Whether it works or not, trying doesn't hurt, right, brother? Even though he was cajoling on the surface, this slippery young man's brain was churning with schemes. From the very beginning, my target was never that cold demon sword. His eyes were glued to the rusty sword, glowing with greed. My real target is the Kingang sword camouflaged inside it, because once that item is in my hands, with just one use of modify, that piece of scrap iron will instantly transform into a legendary divine weapon that will shake the world. The vendor was still skeptical, pushing his sunglasses up to examine him. What rank is your profession, kid? Do you really have the durability skill? The trick of restoring weapon durability requires extreme precision. The difficulty level isn't exactly a joke. The stall boss sneered, looking at the brilliant orb in Jiang Yan's hand and declaring flatly, "Repairman, F-rank technical profession." He thumped his chest proudly, showing off to the student. "I'm a technical profession too, and an even better one, I'm a D-rank blacksmith." Pointing at the pile of junk on the tarp, he acted like a senior offering advice. "I know way more about weapons than you do, but even I wouldn't dare guarantee that I could restore its durability. I'm only telling you this because you're a student." Actually, Jiang Yan knew a basic principle of this world. Once a weapon's durability drops to 0, it's considered completely junk. He muttered, assessing the situation like a true expert. Restoring durability requires sensing the weapon's structure, needing a clear understanding of the magic power within it before it can be reconstructed. The man in sunglasses kept blustering with threats, setting a price as a precaution. Once the repair fails, the durability will drop even more miserably. So if you mess it up, you have to pay me 18,000. How about that? Kexin, who was eavesdropping in the crowd, suddenly muttered in agreement. That vendor isn't wrong. Even the B-rank pseudo-professionals in my guild wouldn't be able to easily restore weapon durability. Jiang Yan didn't bother arguing, just placed his hand on the blade and calmly replied. Then try to open your eyes wide and watch carefully. Magical light erupted in a blinding flash. He smirked with the pride of a reincarnated soul. In my past life, the things I repaired for the big shots were all A-rank, even S-rank artifacts. Memories of grinding flooded back while he performed the skill. Normally, those who awaken as F-rank repairmen would just give up and lie down, ignoring life. But in my past life, because of my habit of wanting to do everything to the best of my ability, I risked my life to hone this durability skill. Jiang Yan gave a radiant, confident smile. And now, that habit is one of my most effective trump cards. The stream of magic power flowed smoothly according to his masterfully skilled lead. These 3 low-level pieces of junk, repairing them is just as easy as flipping my hand. The surrounding crowd gasped, instantly buzzing with amazement. Too epic. Clearly just a student, but those moves are so smooth. F-rank profession? How on earth did such a master pop up? Kexin also stared wide-eyed, unblinking. I thought when he said he'd repair my gear earlier, he was just being polite. Who would have guessed he could actually do it? Jiang Yan retracted his hand, casually handing back the perfectly repaired item. There you go, all fixed. The stall boss quickly took off his sunglasses, caressing the sword like he'd just unearthed a gold mine. Brother, I really had eyes but couldn't recognize a true talent. You're truly a rare genius. Keeping his promise, even though he felt a pang of regret in his heart, he pressed the rusty bronze sword into his hand. Take it. It's yours now. Jiang Yan secretly celebrated, turned to leave, and added a faint smile. Then many thanks. Next, I only need to modify one character, and it will instantly transform into a pseudo-divine weapon. Instantly, his hand flashed. God skill modify activated. System notification, the old name has been changed. Gang replaced with Hong. The Kingang sword is renamed the Kinghong sword. The glorious beauty of the sword shone brilliantly in the ambitious man's mind. That is the legendary divine sword from ancient times. It once lived and died with a divine general, fighting its way in and out of the enemy's encirclement 7 times. Stowing the priceless treasure in his storage, the young man began a very practical family economic calculation. Weapon acquired. The 2,000 yuan in my pocket can finally be saved. After all, there's still a huge tuition fee to pay for college. His gaze softened, becoming tender as he thought of his little sister. Because of our parents' sudden passing, my little sister still hasn't been able to overcome the shock. He sighed heavily, bearing the burden of a big brother on his shoulders. Even though I know her future will be extraordinary. For now, she's still just an autistic little girl. Before I go to college, I have to prepare some living expenses for this silly little thing. Classmate Jiang Yan, can I hire you to carry me? Interrupted in his train of thought, Jiang Yan turned his head, raising an eyebrow curiously. This voice sounds familiar. Turns out it was the pretty girl from the crowd earlier. She offered a number that nearly made the young man choke. If you agree, I can pay you 50,000 yuan. Just carry me to level 10. Naturally, how could Jiang Yan refuse this juicy deal? Of course that works. The girl breathed a sigh of relief. Awesome. He gave a wide, bright smile, inwardly cheering like he'd just hit the jackpot. Truly, when you're sleepy, someone hands you a pillow. Money just threw itself at my door. Not stopping there, this young little heiress immediately turned to the weapon stall to go shopping. Boss, please get me that cold demon sword. I'll buy it. The stall boss quickly put on his arrogant persona, shouting in sky-high price. 25,000. The durability is at 100% now. Are you sure you want to buy it, miss? Kexin gently pulled a stack of money out of thin air, causing the boss to jump and break into a cold sweat. You can count it again. The stall boss's jaw dropped. It's a storage ring, turns out. It's actually the daughter of a prestigious family. The stall boss now humbled himself, bowing low and carefully offering the cold demon sword with both hands like an offering. Please, miss, take it. Jiang Yan glanced at the fawning flip-flop of the vendor and secretly sneered. These street vendors have really never seen anyone with money. You can tell from the way this girl dresses that she's covered in expensive brands. If not, how could I have believed she could swipe 50,000 yuan for me? After paying, Kexin used both hands to laboriously hug the oversized greatsword, stumbling along and looking pitifully cute. But Jiang Yan was busy planning a bigger scheme in his head. When he carries her, maybe he can take advantage of her support skills. Go challenge a boss that I never dared to face in my past life. Who knows, maybe I'll be able to gobble up another level. Struggling to walk up to him, the girl panted, shyly offering the sword. Jiang Yan, consider this sword a gift for meeting you. Please don't look down on it. Jiang Yan was stunned for a second, his heart fluttering slightly. Buying gifts for me again. Well, this heiress seems to be very reasonable and knows the ropes. Without putting on airs, the young man reached out and grabbed the cold demon sword as if it were light as a feather. Then I won't stand on ceremony. The girl smiled faintly and replied, Thank you. Yao Kexin watched his back, her eyes shining with the gentle, calculating look of someone born into power. As long as you like it, even though he's only an F-rank profession. I always have a feeling that this person's future is so bright it's immeasurable. Better help him out first. Consider it planting a seed of goodwill. With the top gear in hand, Jiang Yan shouldered his sword and marched forward, full of spirit. No time to waste. I'm taking you straight to the rookie training zone. The girl nodded happily and followed. In no time, both of them stood before the massive property of the rookie training zone. Without saying much, Jiang Yan charged in, slaughtering the rabbit monsters like mincing vegetables. The experience points jumped continuously, causing Kexin to exclaim, The speed is just too fast. She leisurely leached experience points, instantly leveling up from level 3 to level 5. Continuing the winning streak, the sword swung, splitting a massive Gale Wolf in two. The system immediately jumped with bright red notifications. Jiang Yan, Yao Kexin broke the time record for the rabbit charging trial. Jiang Yan, Yao Kexin broke the time record for the Gale Wolf trial. The gold achievement board at the center of the training zone flickered continuously, announcing the names of the two who had just swept and set a new record. The students standing below watched with jaws dropped, buzzing with chatter. That monster Jiang Yan broke the record again. This time it looks like he's carrying a girl with him too. Yao Kexin. Could it be the one from the famous Yao family? A young man blankly scratched his head and asked, Which Yao family? Making the friend next to him roll his eyes. Because that family's background is so terrifying that anyone who hears it shudders in fear. They're one of the 10 great national merchant guilds, the Dolly Merchant Guild. The boss of that massive guild is surnamed Yao. On a battlefield filled with yellow sand, the Yao heiress leaned on her staff, panting, her legs turning to jelly and threatening to collapse. I'm still missing a tiny bit of EXP to reach level 10. Do you want to take a break for a second? Jiang Yan turned back and replied calmly without a shred of pity. Keep moving while you rest. Given your current physical condition, there definitely shouldn't be any issues. The status window reported that he had reached level 13. Jiang Yan's eyes burned with massive ambition. The image of the terrifying monster flashed in his mind. Since I've got your giant S-rank support buff, I want to try a challenge. A wild smile bloomed on the young man's brave face. The only base among all the rookie training grounds that reaches sea-level danger. The gloomy wild boar base. Immediately after, both stood before a massive, fortified gate, towering and emitting a gloomy, deadly atmosphere. The wild boar training base. The supervisor saw him and warned, "Jiang Yan, I know you're very talented, even though you've swept and broken the completion time records for other bases. But the gloomy wild boar king, its lethality is far more dangerous than the charging rabbit and the gale wolf." Jiang Yan shouldered his sword, shrugged casually, and looked down on everything. The greater the risk, the greater the reward. If you don't dare to take a bet, you'll never have a better opportunity. He glanced at the girl timidly hugging her staff beside him, smugly sealing the deal. Not to mention, I've now got an S-rank nanny supporting me. This is truly a once-in-a-thousand-years opportunity. The blinding light gate opened. The supervisor sighed and gave way. "Then I wish you both luck." Jiang Yan strode inside, his demeanor as heroic as a god out for a walk. "I'll take those kind words from you." Stepping through the gate, both of them were swallowed into a dense, chillingly silent forest. Kexin looked around, panicked. "Huh, how come I don't see any small monsters blocking the way?" Jiang Yan stopped, his eyes becoming as sharp as a hawk locking onto its prey. "Because in this base there are no small monsters at all. There's only one boss here." Kexin's face turned pale, she jumped and swallowed hard. "Just only one boss here." The ground suddenly shook violently. Jiang Yan reached out and gripped the handle of the cold demon sword, his voice turning cold and dropping. "He's here." A massive black shadow appeared, bringing a suffocating pressure that blanketed the entire space. Kexin trembled and retreated, blurting out, "Monster! The monster is so big." Meanwhile, Jiang Yan smirked radiantly, his fighting spirit boiling over. "This guy is finally worthy of being my opponent." The Boar King roared in intimidation, its eyes flashing with blood-red, deadly intent. The system status window immediately flashed an alarm. Level 15 Gloomy Fire Wild Boar King. Innate skill, Gloomy Fire Fierce Charge. It carries a tyrannical blue fire with temperatures reaching 200 degrees Celsius. He took his defensive stance, coldly instructing his nanny behind him. "Stay prepared, cast Holy Light Healing on me." Kexin nodded seriously. Yes. Not letting the opponent make the first move, Jiang Yan lunged forward like an arrow piercing the wind. Dealing with powerful monsters, he jumped into the air, pouring all his strength into his legs. "You have to seize the initiative." The sword swung, drawing a sharp semicircle, borrowing gravity and rotational force to slash at its throat. But that clever boar seemed to have sniffed out the killing intent, quickly raising its neck to block. Two streams of power collided, sparks flying wildly in midair. Jiang Yan frowned, calculating his next move. "It jumped, so I couldn't slash its throat. This boar is actually pretty smart." However, finding a way out of the difficulty, this sly young man immediately came up with a cunning scheme. "But I can seize the moment while in the air." Modify the Kingang sword. Yao Kexin absolutely won't discover it. His eyes flashed with magic. The familiar mantra rang out with authority, triggering the modify skill. Golden light shimmered and covered the blade, the character Gang bent into Hong. Jiang Yan sneered and roared. "Kingang sword modified to Kinghang sword. You could block the Kingang sword, but you absolutely cannot block the Kinghang sword." In the blink of an eye, the scrap iron leveled up into A+ rank treasure. The Kinghang sword Sudway grade quality. Description: a replica of the sword of a legendary general, but even as a replica it possesses powerful might. Attack attribute plus 300, armor penetration plus 90, agility plus 60 passive, cuts iron like mud. 3% probability to ignore the opponent's armor and directly slash through them. The young man silently analyzed with a look of extreme logic. Sure enough, even a god-tier skill like Modify couldn't directly ignore the laws of physics and create a true divine weapon. Still, for him, this was a super profitable investment. And for now, this was enough. Attack power increased 5-fold, plus armor penetration and agility, and it even came with a heaven-defying passive. At this moment, the Kinghang sword slashed down as if to tear the sky apart. "Now, the advantage belongs to me." The sharp, cold blade swept across, easily slicing off the monster's massive, steel-hard tusk. The Boar King shrieked in extreme pain, the blue fire on its body flaring wildly with fury. Faster than lightning, Jiang Yan took the chance to swap the sword back to its original state, muttering carefully, "Change it back, don't let Yao Kexin spot the flaw." Watching it all from afar, Kexin couldn't believe her eyes. Is this the power that E-rank gear can do? One sword stroke sliced off the monster's toughest tusk. The heiress's brain began to concoct a divine script. No, absolutely impossible. That wasn't the work of E-rank gear, it was Jiang Yan. Her gaze filled with worship as she looked at that sturdy back. It's because he himself is just too strong. An F-rank profession capable of breaking so many records, His combat techniques must definitely far surpass ordinary combat professions. Jiang Yan turned back to see her vacant expression, breaking into a cold sweat and thinking that the girl seemed to be making up some weird stuff in her head. But why is she standing there like a statue now? He hurriedly shouted to wake the sleepwalking nanny. Hey, cast holy light on me, otherwise if I slash this boar to death in the next hit, you won't get any share of the experience points. Kexin snapped out of it, frantically waving her staff to chant. All right, thank you for the reminder, holy light, instantly wrapped in a super warm light. Jiang Yan lunged, killing intent blazing. Now, let's finish this boar king. He continued to tinker and explore his own, glitchy, playstyle, using the modify skill as an instant cast move that could also be considered a novel method of attack. Staring at the sword in his hand, he felt his hands itching to work again. The next strike, let's try modifying its name. What could Hangma, demon subduing, be changed into? Demon God, Demon King, or maybe God Slayer Sword? But pausing for a second, his cool head immediately dismissed the wild idea. The status of such a name is too high. Either the modification fails, or it might bite back at me. Better not to risk it. On the other side, the Boar King had gone insane, its whole body ablaze with blue fire, preparing to unleash its finishing move. The Gloomy Fire Boar King activated its innate skill, Gloomy Fire Fierce Charge. Jiang Yan calmly gripped the hilt, serenely facing the Reaper. Right on time, I wanted to end this battle, too. A stream of fierce fire rushed forward at rocket speed, threatening to crush everything in its path. Facing that nightmare, the young man smirked with an extremely cunning look. The Gloomy Fire Fierce Charge is rushing forward intensely. What would be fun to change you into? Got it, that's the one. Jiang Yan tilted his head back slightly to instruct. Yao Kexin, close your eyes. Kexin was extremely bewildered, blinking stupidly and asking, why? Jiang Yan acted like an experienced senior, his voice dropping to protect the beauty's eyes. Trust me, you definitely don't want to see the next scene. Kexin obediently squeezed her eyes shut, trembling as she replied. Is it very bloody? Okay, that's fine. He calmly held one finger out in front of the violent fire that was about to pounce on him. The young wizard bent the vocabulary by snapping his fingers, uttering a death sentence full of comedic timing. Activate Modify Skill, change its Gloomy Fire Fierce Charge into Gloomy Fire Slow Charge to reduce the shock. The system made a pleasant ting sound, modification successful. The fierce blue fire blast suddenly slowed down, creeping inch by inch like a turtle. The Boar King was confused, filled with question marks. Huh! Now a slow-moving pig has basically zero threat. Jiang Yan drew his sword and leaped into the air, a judgmental smile clearly visible. It's over. He immediately pulled out the demon-subduing blade he had bought earlier. Demon-subduing blade activates Modify Skill. A brilliant, intense magical aura erupted, stronger than ever before. A fierce, dark power surged violently from within the blade. The teenager's eyes flashed with the madness of a daredevil. Demon-subduing blade, modify into Demon King Blade. A beam of burning red light shot straight into the sky. The blade in his hand was now aflame with the Demon King's fire, radiating a destructive aura, ready to cleave the very heavens in two. A voice echoing from the depths of hell spoke through the blade. Who dares to summon this king? The system window displayed bone-chilling information. Demon King Sword rank, attributes, contains a fragment of the consciousness of the seventh Demon King, Blood Spirit Usura. Extremely risky, uncontrollable, absolutely do not attempt to use. Jiang Yan broke into a cold sweat, panting as he gripped the blood-red blade. The thing I've modified this time is a massive headache. I have to finish off this Gloomy Fire Wild Boar King quickly. Deciding to end it swiftly, he swung the blade and charged straight ahead. Take this. A wave of sword light as red as giant lava descended. It split the ground in two, unparalleled in power. With a loud crash, the giant monster was severed in half and collapsed. Jiang Yan leaned on the blade, knees buckling as he staggered. He muttered, assessing the destructive power of the heavy-duty weapon. Truly a terrifying weapon. Just one blow completely drained all my stamina. But the real danger was now starting to emerge. This Demon King blade isn't right. It's starting to bite back at my body. Burning red veins like tree roots spread along his arm. He panted heavily, desperately trying to turn the tide by activating the Modify skill. But his body had reached its limit. Jiang Yan collapsed to the ground. Damn it, my stamina is completely spent. The teenager's face was pale and helpless. I can't even activate Modify anymore. The devilish consciousness inside the blade began to act malevolent and cruel. So you are just a mere human. You dare borrow the power of this king? Then pay the price. The blood-red eye on the hilt bulged with evil. Even if this king cannot personally descend, just 1/10 of my power is enough to wipe out your civilization and enslave your entire race. Facing that cosmic threat, Jiang Yan smirked coldly, regaining his usual slippery demeanor. I already predicted this would happen. Unfazed, he pulled out a backup sword and stabbed straight ahead. This isn't the first time I've modified a Demon King blade. The Demon King roared in panic. You bastard, how dare you? Fap, the blade pierced through the demonic eye parasitic on the hilt, and a wave of burning red gas enveloped the space. The Demon King's voice crumbled in extreme frustration. You bastard! This grudge, this king will definitely make you pay back. I will tear you into 10,000 pieces, seal you in a sea of blood, and imprison your soul for eternity. Jiang Yan slumped down, clutching his arm and sighing in relief. Once the consciousness of the Demon King rooting inside the weapon was pierced, the corrosion process stopped. He leisurely regained his breath. Just wait for my stamina to recover, change its name back, and this will all be over. Sitting on the ground, the young man began to recall the painful lessons learned. In my past life, my modify skill also caused a similar incident. The image of a god of slaughter casting a shadow over the sky flashed through his brain. But that time, the one who descended was the 9th Demon King, Thunder Spirit Annihilation. That incident was much worse than this one. We even had to have a general of the realm above level 80 intervene. He looked at the tattered blade and concluded like a veteran. But thanks to that accident, I learned how to deal with this type of anomaly. The only way to subdue them is to attack the consciousness anchoring itself on the weapon directly. Jiang Yan's eyes suddenly became profound, pondering the nature of the world. Those terrifying entities, are they just creatures of the magic zone? Or do these demon kings come from another world even more horrifying than the magic zone? Shaking the macro-theoretical dreams aside, he stood up and swung the redecorated blade. Enough rest, time to go collect the loot. Trigger skill, modify. Demon King Blade renamed back to Demon Slumber Blade. Carrying the heart of a merchant, Jiang Yan walked toward the giant carcass. You're a miasma magic toad king boss anyway, don't let me down. As if to fulfill his expectations, a crystal sparkling with magic power popped out of the corpse. The young man's eyes glowed, his greed rising. A magic core from a level 20 boss, market price is at least 100,000 yuan. This time I'm really raking it in. Not leaving a single thing behind, he drew his storage ring and sucked up the entire pile of ruins and the carcass of the Toad King. Plus the pile of monster corpses I cleared earlier, all top-grade materials. Selling these will definitely bring in a fortune. A slippery, cunning smile appeared on the businessman's lips. If I sell this loot to the official market, I won't get much. I have to wait until I get back to Nanrong City and dump it all on the black market to squeeze out maximum profit. The system window flashed. Miasma Magic Toad King defeated. Unknown entity defeated. Gained large amount of experience. Jiang Yan scratched his head blankly. Oh right, I think I leveled up after killing the Toad King earlier. Sure enough, brilliant leveling light enveloped him, jumping from level 18 straight to 20. A double level up in one go. The unknown entity must have been that red demon eye from earlier. Never expected a bonus experience drop like this. A crooked leveling idea crossed the slippery teenager's mind. If I keep repeating the process of summoning and killing this eye, could I exploit the system bug and hit level 100 right here? But the image of the giant, evil red eye covering the sky immediately extinguished that delusion. But if I slip up once, I'll probably drag all of Nanrong City into vapor with me. I'd have to start over from scratch then. He wiped away cold sweat and finalized a rational conclusion. Better not gamble with life. Throwing the game bug thoughts out of his mind, Jiang Yan excitedly opened the system. Every 10 levels, he'd get a new innate skill. Let's see what we get this time. Reached level 20 effect. Ability to dismantle various items under level 10 to obtain various materials. 10% chance to trigger critical reward. Critical reward, dismantled materials are doubled. Received new farmer innate skill. Disease immunity LV1, an effect that makes crops immune to pests. The corners of his mouth curled into a smile dripping with capitalist greed. These new skills actually look pretty interesting. Dismantling is truly the best friend of a money and gear grinder. He smugly analyzed the biggest profit. And as for that pest immunity, just use modify on one word, and it'll instantly transform into a divine skill. Damage immunity. However, he was still very cautious, rushing through the miasma. Even though a skill like damage immunity is too game-breaking and will definitely come with dozens of limitations, in a crisis, it's absolutely a perfect life-saving trump card. Time to head back. While gliding smoothly through the air, the danger warning in his head suddenly blared loudly. A black-clad assassin silhouette tore through the wind from the branches above, lunging straight down. Jiang Yan glanced slightly, his expression bored and undisguised. It's that lackey of Lu Yuan's from earlier. What the hell is he doing here? The guy Lu Tao waved his pair of daggers and laughed triumphantly. F-rank trash, I've finally caught you. The system window lightly showed info. Level 17, assassin, B-rank combat profession. Thinking he had victory in the bag, the assassin lunged. His speed so fast it left a sharp afterimage on the ground. He roared aggressively, immediately activating his innate skill to increase agility by 30%. A piece of trash like you needs to be taught a lesson by your grandpa Tao here. Two poison-tipped daggers stabbed straight at the motionless teenager. Gotcha. The assassin was floating in smug self-satisfaction. What right does an F-rank class have to fight a frontline combat class like me? But was suddenly left empty-handed because Jiang Yan just tilted slightly to dodge easily, dropping a flat remark. The King Hong sword swung instantly, sliding past as fast as a lightning bolt tearing through the mist. Lu Tao collapsed to the ground, fresh blood spilling from the deep diagonal gash across his chest. His face contorted in agony as he shrieked. Slapped down hard, he clutched his chest, cold sweat pouring, his eyes filled with extreme shock. What the hell is this? Why is he even faster than me? And just now he pulled that sword out of a storage ring, right? Watching Jiang Yan's figure coldly striding closer, the assassin shuddered and wondered. How could trash like him afford something as expensive as a storage ring? Jiang Yan shouldered his sword, looking down at him like he was a useless pile of garbage, and preached lazily. Do you think that just because you awakened a combat class, you automatically become an invincible powerhouse? Personal training, stat enhancement, combat awareness, and level gaps. All those things decide true strength. He turned away indifferently, silently assessing. It's clear this guy's skill level is way too far behind mine. Maybe if his master showed up personally, it would be a different story. While lost in thought, Jiang Yan suddenly frowned, feeling an aura of sharpness rushing at him from a blind spot. A purple-tinted venomous throwing blade whistled through the wind, flying straight for his face. Faster than lightning, he used 2 fingers to clamp down on the deadly weapon, the corner of his mouth curling up. Speak of the devil, and he shall appear. From the air, Lu Yuan's figure crashed down like a ghost, kicking powerfully at the sword that Jiang Yan had just managed to lift to parry. Pressing his cold face against the brilliantly glowing sword, Lu Yuan smirked and growled. Nice sword, not bad at all. Jiang Yan also gave a dangerously cold smile, returning the compliment with sarcasm. Your weapon isn't so bad either. The collision sparked a shockwave. Both simultaneously tumbled and suddenly retreated backward to create a safe distance. Lu Yuan took his fighting stance, his eyes burning with the competitive fire of the strong. Let me see for myself what an F-rank rookie at the top of the rankings is really made of. Jiang Yan shouldered his blade with an arrogant attitude dripping with provocation. So you're not satisfied with my first-place spot, huh? He arrogantly made a bet full of swagger. Just fighting is boring. Let's make a bet. The loser has to hand over their weapon. Fine by me. Before the words had faded, Lu Yuan transformed into a brilliant purple hurricane as the system alarmed. S-rank Gale Assassin activates innate skill, Gale Steps, borrowing the wind's power to increase agility by 80%. Seeing a tasty morsel presenting itself, the slippery youth smugly swung his sword to welcome him. In that case, I won't stand on ceremony to take your blade. My savings account is about to get another deposit. Lu Yuan lunged forward at rocket speed, screaming arrogantly. My class is destined to be faster than anyone. Speed is everything. The 2 weapons clashed, creating blinding shockwaves. Jiang Yan silently assessed. Speed is absurdly fast, as expected of an S-rank combat class. From outside, the lackey cheered enthusiastically. Too cool, just like that, take him down, brother Yuan. Lu Yuan pressed the attack continuously, a smug half-smile on his face. Too slow, you're basically not an opponent for me. An F-rank class is, in the end, just an F-rank. He gathered his strength for a final, lethal strike aimed straight at his opponent's head. This strike will end everything. A splash of bright crimson blood sprayed into the air. Jiang Yan had used his bare hands to catch the opponent's short blade. Caught you! Jiang Yan's blade slipped through the defense, stopping right against Lu Yuan's ribs, accompanied by the smile of the Grim Reaper. Victory and defeat have been decided. Lu Yuan opened his eyes wide in shock, cold sweat revealing the trap. From the very beginning, he never had any intention of competing on speed with me. Tasting caution for the first time, the young master gnashed his teeth. So this is the strength of the top rookie in Nanrong City. Finally, things are starting to get interesting. Not bad for a genius. Lu Yuan twisted his body, swinging his blade to parry in a split second. decisively throwing away his weapon to use the force to push himself far away. But if you dare to trade injury for injury, I can cut off my tail to survive. Jiang Yan looked up with his blood-stained sword, praising him with interest. Good job, kid. You really just dumped your weapon. He gave a smile of recognition. Your practical combat experience is quite impressive. After saying that, he pointed his sword tip at the now unarmed prey, taunting him. However, now that you have no weapon, how do you plan to keep fighting me? To his surprise, the rich young master calmly clicked his storage ring and drew a brand new, gleaming short blade. I really love this type of short blade, so I usually keep 3 spares in my storage ring. Looking at that blatant display of wealth, Jiang Yan's mouth twitched, a mix of bitterness and envy, almost forgetting that the guy was the young master of the famous Lu family in Nanrong. Even though B-rank weapons are expensive, for him, it's just a drop in the bucket. But that wealth only fueled the fighting spirit of the poor. However, beating a child of destiny like this brings an extreme sense of satisfaction. On the other side, Lu Yuan gathered a massive wave of purple wind element magic that enveloped him. You're the first person my own age to see this skill of mine. At first, I thought it would be that sword saint guy. The system window flashed. Gale Destructive /LV1. Effect. Unleashes a wind element sword wave, dealing 150% attack damage. After this skill reaches LV3, the skill slot will undergo a quality upgrade. He roared, swinging his blade to release a destructive crescent-shaped wave of energy. Gale Destructive Slash. Jiang Yan somersaulted to dodge the sharp sword energy that sliced a boulder in half. He silently assessed. This is the power of a combat class. Every innate skill brings a massive increase in power. He panted while running. Not to mention this kid is an S-rank combat class. He's unreasonably strong. However, through the eyes of a master, the opponent's weaknesses were instantly seen through. His sword energy projection speed is clearly not as fast as his melee attacks. Unleashing this kind of large-scale wind element energy is definitely a massive drain on his stamina. Utilizing the terrain, Jiang Yan dove into the shadows of the foggy forest, hiding his figure and waiting for a one-hit kill opportunity. That's my winning window. Anyway, I can't reveal my true innate skill. Losing his target, Lu Yuan stood high up to scout, still keeping his short blade ready just in case. He muttered with a cold, calculating smile. He's hiding, a wise decision. A storm of magic energy continued to surge around the assassin. But he unleashed countless waves of sword energy, tearing the area below to shreds. What are you going to do when there's nowhere left to hide? Trees collapsed, dust swirled, and deep gashes scarred a large area of land. Waiting for the smoke to clear, Lu Yuan landed in the empty lot, vigilantly observing every smallest movement. He frowned, a bead of sweat rolling down his cheek in anxiety. He disappeared. Suddenly, a long black shadow cast across the ground behind him. Lu Yuan reflexively turned and launched a lethal strike. The sharp blade slashed straight into an illusion. Shadow cast, I see you now. But the powerful strike hit a dead tree trunk. At the very moment, Lu Yuan revealed a fatal opening. Jiang Yan slid in from the air like a ghost, his cold blade stopping right at the opponent's throat as he gave a cunning smile. Feinted east, struck west. I win. At that same time, a sour, horrified thought flashed through Lu Yuan's mind. How could an F-rank class push me to this point? Lu Yuan broke into a cold sweat, realizing the harsh truth. He utilized the terrain, even the plants. If he were an A-rank class, who knows what kind of terrifying strength he would have reached. He gripped the hilt tightly and lunged, carrying the final pride of a superior. But what a shame, no matter how strong you are, you're still just an F-rank class, while I am an S-rank combat class. Instantly, a brilliant purple wind ring shield expanded, blocking the lethal slash. System displayed clearly, wind ring shield. Lu Yuan roared, gritting his teeth in resistance. How could I be so easily defeated by you? Jiang Yan was slightly startled and pondered. This kid has actually broken level 20 already, and he even popped an extra life-saving innate skill. The confident smile quickly returned to the slippery guy's lips. He applied pressure on the sword, but my King-gang sword is no slouch either. Sparks showered between the two forces. Jiang Yan forced the young master to take a step back. Even if you have this turtle shell, don't even think about blocking a strike with this much power. Crackle, the wind ring shield shattered, sending Lu Yuan slamming back against a withered tree, not giving the prey a chance to breathe. Jiang Yan shouldered his heavy sword and strode over, his demeanor completely dominating the situation. He narrowed his eyes, weighing the pros and cons. Should I press the attack to the end? But it clearly hadn't reached the point of life and death yet. Memories from his past life rushed back, recalling an image of a heroic, blood-drenched general. Besides, Lu Yuan isn't a bad person by nature. In the past life, it was he who led the Lu family to stand tall against the monster invasion. Opposite him, the Lu family young master clutched his chest and coughed, spitting up mouthfuls of fresh blood. His eyes burned with the red fire of someone unwilling to accept defeat. I haven't lost yet. Once he gets a bit closer, I'll hit him with a point-blank wind blade strike. Even if my stamina is exhausted, I must leave him severely wounded. Thinking that was one thing, but the bitterness of a child of destiny still surged. As an S-rank awakened, am I really being beaten to this miserable state by a piece of F-rank trash? He lowered his eyes, muttering in existential doubt. Can an F-rank really develop to be this strong? But no matter what, my S-rank potential is definitely still higher than his. Before he could soothe his wounded ego, Lu Yuan jumped back in alarm when he saw the shadow of the King Hung sword raised, radiating coldness. He panicked, gritted his teeth, and raised his short blade horizontally to take a stance. He's coming. He expected a blow that would make his eyes see stars. But no, Jiang Yan just flatly held out a completely empty hand toward his opponent. The assassin was stunned, a giant question mark appearing over his head. Huh. The slippery teenager flashed a conciliatory, friendly smile and reached out. Seems like we fought to a draw. You're really strong. Lu Yuan was dumbfounded, letting his opponent pull his hand up, unable to process this flip-flopping like a pancake attitude. What are you trying to do? Jiang Yan put on the incredibly sincere face of a true gentleman. I mean that you're a worthy rival that I respect. Let's call this match a draw, shall we? Looking into those burning bright eyes, Lu Yuan suddenly dropped all his pride and defense. This is the look of recognition. He isn't looking down on me. I'm strong, but he's also strong. I understand now. The young master smiled in relief, untying the knot in his heart. There is always someone higher, someone more talented always exists. Thank you for teaching me this truth. Clasping hands and standing up, Lu Yuan declared heroically like a brother in arms. I acknowledge you as a true powerhouse, a powerhouse worthy of being my rival. But next time at the top 100 rookie tournament, I will definitely defeat you fair and square. Seeing the fish hook the bait, Jiang Yan smirked, dropping a piece of baiting encouragement dripping with charisma. Then you need to work harder to get stronger. Otherwise, you'll lose the very qualification to be my rival. While the atmosphere was full of brotherhood, Lu Yuan's lackey suddenly jumped out, bristling like a hedgehog and pointing straight at Jiang Yan. Hey you, stop right there. How dare you make Brother Yuan get hurt like this? Seeing that, Lu Yuan hurriedly raised a hand to block his impulsive little brother, his face serious. Don't be rude. From now on, you must respect him just as you respect me. After straightening out his lackey, the young master turned back to look at Jiang Yan with eyes burning with resolve. Next time, I will definitely give it my all to defeat you. Absolutely. Jiang Yan calmly tucked his hands into his pockets, leisurely watching the two Lu family members disappear behind the withered trees of the forest. Once the prey was out of sight, the teenager curled his lips and chuckled internally. If I had really given it my all just now. He opened his palm, flashing the glowing cubes of the modify skill. The moment you shouted out the name of your first skill, you had already lost for sure. He added, not to mention, my Gale Slash was also modified, so there were dozens of other ways to play you for a fool. Putting away his deep and mysterious persona, Jiang Yan scratched his head and sighed with boredom. But that's a shame. Fought hard all morning, and in the end, I'm leaving with nothing. He sadly looked at the short blade just returned, a sense of heartache typical of a pragmatist rising in his chest. Since we drew, he took his weapon back. Feels like I've been working for free this whole time, but the heavens don't abandon the money-hungry. Jiang Yan suddenly narrowed his eyes, surprised to discover a flickering green light in the distance. Recalling the ground-shaking blow from earlier, he nodded, analyzing. Must be that my slash accidentally tore through a concealment spell earlier, revealing something that was originally invisible. He picked up a rock to toss into the poisonous fog to test it, and concluded. Looks like some kind of special toxic gas. Might as well go check it out. Who knows, might even strike it rich with another boss-grade monster. No sooner said than done. The system flashed with good news as the modify skill triggered. Damage immunity modified to poison immunity LV1. Effect. Increases poison resistance by 1.5 times base level for 20 minutes. Wrapped in an elite, top-tier poison shield, Jiang Yan strode with a green aura surrounding him, looking incredibly self-satisfied. With this skill for a while, I don't need to worry about spending money on detox potions anymore. He walked leisurely to the edge of the strange miasma, his eyes full of curiosity. What the hell kind of monster is hiding in this toxic fog anyway? Stepping through the mist, a vast and equally chilling scene opened up before his eyes. Whoa, it looks like a lake filled with poison. His imagination began to run wild, and he started dreaming up an epic leveling scenario. Could there be a legendary poison dragon sealed under this lake? To find the answer, he didn't hesitate to leap straight into the lake to dive down. Let's go down and see. But immediately after, he looked disappointed. Huh, how come there are only these useless little weaklings down here? Just as he finished his disparaging remark, a massive black shadow loomed, obscuring the vision at the murky bottom of the lake. Accompanying it was a jaw full of razor-sharp teeth opening wide, ready to swallow its prey whole. The system immediately scanned the info. Level 18 ice-armored crocodile. With godlike reflexes, Jiang Yan somersaulted to the side to dodge the lightning-fast bite, smiling defiantly. Turns out there's some serious muscle hiding underwater, too. You think swallowing me is going to be that easy? The monster missed and frenziedly swam back around. Meanwhile, Jiang Yan had already pivoted into position, ready to swing his sword. Since you've gone to the trouble of bringing your carcass right to my doorstep. Without a second of hesitation, he pulled out his massive greatsword, cleaving through the water. Then I'll reluctantly harvest the resources off your body. The interface signaled that the armor break effect had activated. The sword flashed with a brilliant light, piercing through the tough scales and finishing off the unfortunate monster instantly. Looking at the giant crocodile carcass floating and bleeding all over the water, the slippery youth scratched his head in frustration as he raised his storage ring. Good grief, this thing is way too big. My storage ring won't fit it. But ingenuity sparked under pressure. A new idea suddenly brightened his eyes. Fine, I'll just pull out that disassemble skill I just picked up and test it out. The system displayed. Disassemble LV1 allows disassembly of items to obtain materials with a 10% chance to trigger a double reward. He confidently raised his hand and commanded, "Activate disassemble." Instantly, a scene as brilliant as sci-fi appeared. The crocodile's carcass began to disintegrate into thousands of glowing blue tech cubes. The process finished, creating a blinding explosion of light that illuminated the entire dark lake bottom. The loot notification board popped up continuously. E-rank bone, commonly used for crafting low-level weapons. E-rank meat, useless but tastes pretty good. D-rank leather, an excellent material for crafting ice-resistant gear. Waving his hand to reclaim the sparkling loot into his storage ring, Jiang Yan nodded in satisfaction. This leather isn't bad at all. I'll take it back with me. While struggling to swim, Jiang Yan suddenly turned back, alert, feeling a strange aura from the deep, dark water. He stared at the brilliant green light in the distance, muttering to himself. I don't know when I swam so close to the source of this toxic fog. Since he had his high-end poison resistance buff, the youth decided to risk it and dive straight down. I'm going down there to see exactly what's going on. The deeper he dove, the more a giant cave glowing with eerie green light gradually appeared before him. Looking at the strange scenery around, he couldn't help but exclaim. The terrain around here has been completely deformed by the toxins. Could my luck really be so good that I'm encountering a massive threat? Finally, he landed on the lake floor, which sparkled like crystal, but was saturated with poison. Hiding quickly behind a large rock, Jiang Yan's eyes widened in surprise. Before his eyes, curled up in the middle of the cave, was a massive creature. A blood-red system window popped up. Poison Dragon Level 43, gender female, status, maturation stage. The youth broke into a cold sweat, unable to believe his eyes. It's a real poison dragon. It's still in the maturation stage and already laying eggs, and it's reached level 43. Swallowing hard, he assessed. No wonder it's called a legendary powerful monster. Once fully mature, this dragon can easily hit level 70. His gaze was glued to the two glowing eggs behind the mother dragon, his greed instantly flaring. Besides, I've got the grafting all things skill. The potential power of these eggs can absolutely be pushed to a new height. Looking at the bleached white bones of the unfortunate souls scattered around the dragon's nest, he told himself with mock righteousness, I'm just waiting for the right moment to sneak off with those dragon eggs. Consider it stealing from the rich to give to the poor. Or rather, consider it revenge for those who lost their lives here. But life is not a dream. The entire cave suddenly shook violently, causing the water flow to rumble loudly. Jiang Yan jumped, hurriedly scanning for the cause. What's happening? Don't tell me. Instantly, a giant male poison dragon with wings covering the entire lake bottom landed. Its claws clutching a plump wild boar to serve as dinner for its mate. The boy hurriedly tucked his head in, sweating, retreating deep into a blind spot with a speechless expression. What the hell? Why is there an extra male camped out here? Realizing this one-on-two situation was way too risky, he immediately turned around and swam back up. This place isn't safe at all. I can't beat them right now. I'll farm for levels and come back later to settle the score. Surfacing from the thick, steaming toxic water, the youth stretched and took a deep breath, his eyes burning with ambition. My goal is now much clearer. He smirked confidently, charting a perfect plan. First thing to do is become stronger and steal those dragon eggs at all costs. In his head, he immediately painted a vision of himself grandly riding a dragon through the skis. Once that happens, I'd like to see who in this Nanrong city dares to look down on me again. Stepping onto the muddy bank, shaking off the toxic water, he quickly grabbed his immediate objective. All right, first things first. Haul this crocodile loot to the black market and sell it for cash. Scene transition to a dilapidated apartment complex, patched together and tangled under a red sunset. The location of Nanrong City's underground black market. Walking through the bustling street full of local toughs, Jiang Yan recalled knowledge from his past life. This is the city's underground black market. People say this place is protected by a level 60 grandmaster, and this person seems to have a terrifying background. He glanced at the sharp weapons displayed openly along the road and assessed calmly. As long as you don't cause any huge trouble here, the authorities just turn a blind eye and don't bother interfering. This makes transactions extremely convenient, but of course, it's also the perfect cover for countless crimes. After walking a bit, he stopped before a luxurious door with a bright gold-plated sign. Kim and Gok Kak. This is the most reputable black market shop in my memory. Walking inside, what met his eyes was Tan Du, the owner of Kim and Gok Kak, an alluring beauty with a fiery figure, indifferently exhaling smoke from a fancy pipe. In front of the counter, two hunters were sweating and haggling. "Owner, can you raise the price a little bit?" "Come on, brother, getting this batch of goods wasn't easy." Exhaling a puff of smoke professionally, owner Tan coolly shut them down, no room for bargaining. "The price I've given is the highest on this street. If you don't want to sell, feel free to leave." After chasing away the annoying customers, owner Tan's sharp eyes darted to Jiang Yan, lifting an eyebrow in surprise and curiosity. "A high school student? Does a little kid like you have stuff to sell too?" Seeing the kid dressed in rags, a hunter curled his lip in contempt. "A little brat like this doesn't even have decent clothes. Where would he get anything valuable to sell?" Annoyed, the big guy standing next to him strode over arrogantly, pointing straight at his face to threaten. "Kid, I suggest you get out of my sight right now. Don't stand here wasting our time." Insulted to his face, Jiang Yan remained unfazed. He calmly raised his hand to show off his glowing ring and humbly replied, "I really don't have anything too significant." Seeing the familiar light, the two hunters stared, their arrogant attitudes instantly vanishing. A space ring. How in the hell can a brat like him possess such expensive gear? Amused by the comedic expressions of these street toughs, the young man raised his hand to dump his goods. "Basically, all my stuff is just this." No sooner had he finished speaking than a giant mountain of materials poured out of the ring, cluttering the entire room with all sorts of bright labels. From ice-armored crocodile bones and toxic scales to ice-armored crocodile leather. The two hunters who were swaggering earlier now dropped their jaws, stunned completely silent before the giant mass of resources. Even a sophisticated beauty like owner Tan couldn't hide her shock, her beautiful eyes widening. He actually has ice-armored crocodile leather. Could this kid have gone deep into the core of the Poison Valley? Not stopping at that initial light display, Jiang Yan casually held out his hand to reveal a brilliant purple glowing crystal. "Oh, right, almost forgot I've got this too." The crystal appeared and the two hunters lunged, clutching their heads like they'd seen a ghost. "It's a magic core, a real, authentic magic core." "Oh my God!" Tan Du's eyes shimmered with extreme agitation. She closely observed the mysterious teenager in front of her, silently assessing. Who on earth is this kid? Ignoring the petrified expressions of everyone around, Jiang Yan calmly flashed a business smile. "Owner, please total it up for me and see how much all of this is worth." Teasing the two hunters, who were drooling to the point of sweating with the magic core, he urged with a smile. "Please hurry up a bit. I don't want to delay these two gentlemen's business." Tan Vu calmly checked the transaction record before speaking in a professional tone. "As per our agreement, the total value of all materials you brought is 78,500. The magic crystal is worth 150,000. Adding it all up, the final amount is 238,500. Everything has been stored on this card." Finishing, she placed a special card on the table in front of him. Jiang Yan reached out with a satisfied smile, saying, Owner Tanvu is indeed generous. All right, I'll take it. But before he could touch the card, Tanvu gently placed her hand over his and continued. Additionally, this gold card will mark you as a VIP of Kim no Kak. If you bring more magic crystals later, I can increase the purchase rate by an extra 10% for you. Hearing that, Jiang Yan immediately stood up. A sincere look of gratitude appeared on his face as he bowed respectfully. Then I'll accept owner Tan Vu's kindness. Shortly after, Jiang Yan left the VIP room and started walking out of Kim and Gok Kak. While moving through the building, he quietly reflected on the recent transaction. Tan Vu is fair and reasonable. That's exactly why I chose to trade with her. She even gave me a VIP card and special discounts. It's clear she's realized my potential. The more he thought about it, the more he believed his decision was the right one. In a world where power determines status and opportunity, having the support of a powerful organization could make a huge difference. His self-confidence grew as he thought about the future awaiting him. He smiled slightly and thought to himself, someone with true capability will be welcomed anywhere. As expected, overwhelming power is the foundation of everything. If I want to earn the highest national salary and climb the rankings, power is the prerequisite. Not far away, two men were secretly observing him and whispering to each other. One gave a sinister laugh. "Brother, we've struck gold again today." His voice was full of greed while both never took their eyes off Jiang Yan. Meanwhile, completely aware of the attention he was attracting, Jiang Yan still walked alone on the street leisurely. He calmly assessed the current situation and thought, now that I have money, I need more protection. Just two weapons still isn't safe enough. His instincts warned him that trouble was closing in. The sudden wealth and the attention he attracted would definitely draw in unwanted guests. However, even though he realized that, he didn't panic. His face remained calm. He silently acknowledged, "As expected, I'm being targeted." But in his heart, there wasn't a hint of fear. He had anticipated this outcome before leaving Kim and Gok Kak. From the moment he decided to sell the precious materials and reveal a portion of his strength, he knew people would target him. After assessing for a moment, he narrowed his eyes and thought, the smell of blood on them is pungent. Surely those sacks are also full of stolen goods. Looking at their appearance and killing intent, it was clear they weren't ordinary people. They've killed and robbed quite a few victims before running into me. A cold smile appeared on Jiang Yan's face as another thought flashed. Killing them can also be considered a good deed. Meanwhile, the two pursuers became more and more confident seeing Jiang Yan heading deep into a deserted area alone. The older brother smirked. This brat has chosen a beautiful grave for himself. The younger one laughed sinisterly. His uncle will probably be the first to know he's dead. However, the moment Jiang Yan reached a desolate place, he suddenly stopped. The air instantly became tense. Without even turning his head, he calmly said, "You guys are too slow. I've been waiting." Hearing those words, both brothers were stunned. The older one stepped forward, gripping his large blade tightly, smirking at Jiang Yan. "Kid, you're still a high school student, right? We're combat professionals." Before Jiang Yan could reply, the younger brother confidently added, "Plenty of adults have died at our hands. You're just the next name on the list." Their voices were full of arrogance, trying to threaten him with their experience and reputation. But instead of fear, Jiang Yan leisurely looked at them and replied with an exaggerated tone. "Combat professionals? I'm so scared. A weak repairman like me, how could I ever beat two people like you?" His words were full of sarcasm. He wasn't afraid at all. On the contrary, he was openly mocking them. The older brother's face instantly darkened in rage. "Brat, you don't look scared at all." The younger brother quickly realized and screamed, "Big brother, he's clearly playing us." Jiang Yan didn't bother hiding it anymore. He shrugged and frankly admitted, "That's right, I'm mocking you." His calm attitude completely enraged the two criminals. Angered, the older one immediately lunged, raising his blade high to strike Jiang Yan. At the same time, the younger one activated his skill, screaming. Toxin and venomous energy spread across his weapon, preparing to attack. But Jiang Yan remained completely calm. He snapped his fingers gently and whispered, "Since I was reborn, this is the first time I've used this skill on someone." Then he activated his ability, Activate Modify Skill. The moment the skill took effect, a strange and terrifying transformation occurred. Jiang Yan's modification ability instantly interfered with their skills and changed them. His passive healing skill was upgraded to a higher level, while the enemy's skills were forcibly turned into something completely different. The older one suddenly stiffened in confusion before his body began to attack itself. His muscles twitched against his will, causing self-inflicted wounds. His confident expression instantly turned into horror. The younger one had it worse. Seeing the scene, he screamed in panic. His poisoning skill was turned into a completely different ability called Consumption. The toxin he prepared to harm his enemy suddenly turned back against the owner. The poison spread rapidly throughout his body. His face turned ashen, pain spreading everywhere. He couldn't stand, collapsing to his knees and looking at Jiang Yan with disbelief. Finally, he could only choke out. How could it be? Ignoring their fear, Jiang Yan slowly walked forward. He whispered, "Finally finished." Then he drew his sword and pointed it straight at the pair. His voice turned cold and sharp. "You two have killed and robbed plenty of people, right? Well, retribution has arrived." Minutes later, the area returned to silence. The two criminals who had hunted countless victims had died from the very consequences they caused. After finishing, Jiang Yan rummaged through their belongings. When checking the items, he suddenly recognized something familiar. He pulled out a piece of paper and read aloud. "Wanted notice. Class B criminals Lu Dai Lai and 3rd Duong. You guys even kept your own wanted notice." He casually threw the notice to the ground. "But I won't use you guys to exchange for a reward. That'd be way too obvious." However, while rummaging, he finally found something that caught his attention. A smile appeared on his face. "Luckily, they had one piece of gear I can use." At this moment, a system window appeared before him, displaying the attributes of the item. The item looked ordinary, nothing special. Jiang Yan carefully observed and said, "Looks pretty normal. Time for my hands to turn trash into treasure." Then he activated his special ability. Activate Modify Skill. The gear instantly began to transform. The attributes on the system window changed rapidly. As the modification skill turned it into something much more powerful, ripples of energy spread across its surface, its quality continuously improving. After finishing, Jiang Yan picked up the upgraded gear and put it on. Feeling his power being strengthened, he nodded in satisfaction. As expected, trying to upgrade to legendary gear always results in unexpected changes. He carefully observed the patterns appearing on the jacket. The pattern on the coat is the Ghost Blood Poison emblem. Not the highest level, but pretty good. Then another thought flashed, and his expression softened. "I'll bring this home as a surprise gift for my sister. Plus, the college entrance exam is almost here." His eyes were full of determination. "This time it's my turn. It's Jiang Yan's turn to shock the world." In his past life, he could only watch others shine while he was ignored. This life will be different. He will be the center of attention. He will stand above everyone. Shortly after, Jiang Yan carried a few items back home. Just as he entered the door, he called, "Yao, come out and help me." Hearing her brother's voice, Tiu Dao quickly ran out. The moment she saw the pile of clothes and gear he brought home, her eyes widened in surprise. "Brother, where did you get all this stuff?" Tiu Dao stared at everything in front of her with an expression of disbelief. To her, this quantity of gear was completely staggering. Seeing his sister's reaction, Jiang Yan laughed. "Of course I earned it fair and square." Then he suddenly remembered something, adding, "Oh, right, starting this month, your allowance is increasing." Tiu Dao immediately panicked and waved her hands. No, that's not necessary. 50 yuan is enough for me." Jiang Yan shook his head resolutely. "Not enough. Starting this month, it's going up to 500. If that's still not enough, just tell me any time." Hearing that figure, Tiu Dao looked at him with disbelief. The massive increase left her wondering where the money came from. Seeing the countless questions forming in his sister's mind, Jiang Yan gently placed his hand on her head and smiled. "Stop imagining things. Tomorrow is the rally before my college entrance exam. With your big brother's level, I just need to show up and come back. I'll be back tomorrow night to take you out for a good meal." His calm confidence immediately captured Tiu Dao's attention. Tiu Dao curiously looked at her brother and asked about his level. Without hesitation, Jiang Yan replied, 20. That number instantly left her speechless. Reaching level 20 in such a short amount of time was something very few people could do. Meanwhile, Jiang Yan continued thinking about the future. The college entrance exam is usually held about a month after awakening. During this period, average students can only reach level 10, or level 15 at most. Only those with exceptional talent can reach level 16 to 20. And from level 20 onwards, only those outstanding individuals from wealthy families have a chance. After all, level 20 is a threshold that requires a massive amount of resources. I only managed to hit level 20 by pure chance after taking down the Demon King's avatar. Without resources, even someone like me would find it extremely difficult. But after becoming the top scholar of Nanduong City, everything will change. College entrance exam, here I come, he whispered in his heart. The scene opens inside the gymnasium of Nam Enhat High School, where all students were lined up neatly. As the principal stood on stage to give his speech, the air was filled with tension. Because the annual college entrance exam was finally approaching, the principal looked at the students and announced that this year's exam was near, and they were the pride and hope of Nam Enhat High School. He reminded everyone that after more than 10 years of diligent study, the opportunity to completely change their destiny was standing right before their eyes. Jiang Yan stood quietly among the students listening to the speech, thinking that even though the principal was just repeating the same old empty words that everyone had heard countless times, for those who had awakened, it was the truth. Because for them, the college entrance exam really was the biggest opportunity to change their future forever. Jiang Yan continued thinking, every awakened person will follow one of 4 different paths, entirely dependent on their performance in the college entrance exam. The first path belongs to exceptional students, admitted to top universities. They have an extremely high chance of becoming pioneers in the future, exploring dangerous demon lair worlds. They will receive comprehensive support from the nation, including abundant cultivation resources and countless opportunities. Their future is nearly limitless. The second path is for students who test well but don't get into top universities. They can choose to join the army, becoming garrison soldiers in occupied territories. Even so, they still receive support from the government along with precious cultivation resources. If they know how to train hard and earn merit, they can advance and become respected commanders. The third path is for awakened people with average performance, enough to get into a normal university. Most of these people will later become members of the Guardian Knights. They only receive support from the local level, not the national level, and cultivation resources are also much fewer. But for someone with average talent, this is already a very good future. The final path belongs to those whose strength is insufficient, failing the exam completely. They will return to normal life in the city, never being able to break through another level for the rest of their lives. In reality, this outcome is the fate for the vast majority, as only 20% can enter the first 3 paths, while the remaining 80% will remain nameless forever. This is the brutal reality of the world after the demon lair invasion, a society built on a strict class system and unimaginable cruelty, where power decides everything, and anyone not strong enough can be eliminated in the blink of an eye. Just as Jiang Yan finished reflecting on that brutal reality, the principal concluded his speech. He looked across the students and gave his final announcement. The speech is over. The homeroom teachers will begin screening students immediately. Those who have reached level 15 or above will be exempt from the school's preliminary exam. It is time to begin the screening process. The moment those words echoed throughout the gymnasium, the air immediately became tense. All students below level 15 were anxious and uneasy. They knew their destiny was about to be decided. Many wore looks of anxiety, others silently prayed they would pass. Amidst the spreading anxiety, Jiang Yan stood there with a calm smile. He thought to himself, although I was taken away in my past life so I never experienced this event directly, I understand the rules perfectly. As long as the level exceeds 15, the student is automatically considered an exceptional talent. Looking at the current situation, he calmly concluded that he probably didn't need to participate in the school's preliminary exam. Just then, the class instructor stepped out and began announcing the results. He announced that their class had a total of 5 students who had passed level 15. However, he immediately added that only 4 people were exempt from the preliminary exam. Then he looked straight at Jiang Yan and called his name. He explained that although Jiang Yan had reached above level 15, he still had to participate in the preliminary exam. The reason was very simple. Jiang Yan did not belong to a combat profession, and furthermore, his profession was only F rank, so he was an exception. The moment those words rang out, the students around Jiang Yan instantly whispered, making all kinds of mocking comments. His classmates looked at him with looks of ridicule. His longtime nemesis couldn't hide his smugness, laughing loudly and mocking him, saying that this was exactly what an F rank deserved. He even openly called Jiang Yan a useless F-rank trash. Even so, Jiang Yan didn't show a single sign of anger. Before the situation escalated, his coach walked up to him and said in a consoling tone, "You shouldn't be discouraged, because I know exactly how outstanding you are. It's just unfortunate that this is the school's decision. As a teacher, I don't have the authority to change it." Hearing those sincere words, Jiang Yan just smiled at the teacher without a hint of disappointment. He respectfully replied, "I understand. Since the school has already decided, I will participate in the preliminary exam without any complaints." His calm attitude only made his enemy even more baffled. He couldn't wrap his head around how someone in that position could remain so composed. A loud siren echoed throughout the stadium, and an announcement immediately blared over the speakers. The preliminary exam has officially begun. The announcement explained that the preliminary exam was an internal screening round for each high school before the actual university entrance exam. Only the final winner would have the right to participate in the official exam. The elimination rate was as high as 90%, making it one of the most brutal selection systems, where only the strongest and most outstanding students could survive, while the rest were weeded out. As the matches continued, the principal and the vice principal stood together, observing from the monitoring area. The vice principal shook his head, saying that it had been a full month since everyone awakened, yet many students had still not reached level 15. According to him, their futures were nothing to look forward to, as most of them only had D or E rank classes, and many had awakened non-combat crafting classes. Hearing this, the principal calmly replied, "This year is different." He reminded the vice principal about Jiang Yan, the student who had consistently topped both academic and martial rankings for 3 years straight. He asked if the vice principal still remembered that exceptional young man. The vice principal immediately replied that of course he remembered, and admitted that he himself had once pinned a lot of hope on Jiang Yan. But he sighed in disappointment, saying that no one expected such an outstanding student to awaken an F-rank class. The vice principal continued to explain that the principal also understood clearly what the F-rank represented. Initially, the lowest level of an awakened class was E, but as the number of awakened individuals increased, some extremely weak crafting classes appeared. They were so weak that they were initially categorized as trash. Later, the authorities found the word trash too harsh, so they officially changed it to F rank. Even though Jiang Yan remained the most outstanding student in both academics and martial arts, the gap in class quality was so massive that it was absolutely impossible for him to defeat others. After hearing this, the principal replied with absolute confidence, "One shouldn't judge a person solely by their class rank. The great ancestor Hu Dayan Wu back in the day also awakened an F-rank class, but still rose to become a respected level 70 entity. No one is allowed to look down on others, especially not a student as hardworking and determined as Jiang Yan." Finally, the long-awaited announcement sounded. The referee called the contestants of bracket 17 to the stage. This was Jiang Yan's bracket. When his name was called, he calmly stepped onto the arena, while other contestants held their weapons ready, standing across from their opponents in preparation for a fierce battle. Jiang Yan did something completely unexpected. Instead of looking at his enemies, he leisurely turned his back to them and silently thought, "It's finally my turn." He remembered his promise to his sister that he would take her out for a good meal, so he smiled. He had no intention of wasting time here for nothing. The students watching from the outside immediately recognized him. One pointed at Jiang Yan and exclaimed that he was currently topping the rankings and was considered a true genius. Another added that Jiang Yan had already reached level 20. At this moment, someone reminded them that despite his high level, he only awakened an F-rank class. They quickly formed a plan, temporarily team up to eliminate Jiang Yan first, and only after defeating him would they compete against each other for the win. Hearing their discussion, Jiang Yan just looked at them with eyes full of confidence and calmly said, "You guys should just come at me together." His words immediately infuriated everyone. They yelled that they were all combat classes, so there was no reason they couldn't defeat him alone. "We have to show him, someone with an F-rank class, that the gap between two classes cannot be bridged just by effort," they said. And with those words, the whole group swarmed in to attack. Up on the stands, the principal and the vice principal also watched intently, saying, "It's starting, old man, you watch carefully." As the match officially began, Jiang Yan activated his magical storage ring and immediately summoned his weapon. Looking at his opponents, he leisurely remarked, "Your weapons are too inferior. The items I obtained in the Poison Dragon Valley are absolutely not at that level." Before anyone could react, the principal and the vice principal were stunned into silence. In their minds, only two shocking truths remained. Jiang Yan had a storage ring, and the weapon he had just summoned was clearly an A-rank weapon. Not giving anyone time to compose themselves, Jiang Yan suddenly lunged forward with incredible speed. His footwork was so fast that he instantly moved through the entire group of opponents. As all the spectators were left in astonishment, countless people gossiped about what kind of movement technique could possibly have such terrifying speed. Jiang Yan calmly walked past all his opponents and stopped behind them, leisurely declaring, "You have already lost." One student immediately objected. Jiang Yan's speed might be powerful, but they weren't injured at all, so it was impossible that they had lost. Jiang Yan just smiled and calmly replied, "Really?" Just as he finished speaking, everyone's ties were slashed in half. Their blade edges had all been cleanly cut without anyone even noticing. In the moment Jiang Yan lunged past them, he had completed all the strikes. Seeing their weapons destroyed, a student trembled in fear and admitted, if Jiang Yan had really wanted to kill them, they would all have been dead long ago. They realized the overwhelming gap in power. All of them were thoroughly convinced and conceited, and so they all raised their hands to admit defeat. Not long after, the official announcement echoed throughout the arena. Student Jiang Yan from Class 1 has won the match in bracket 17. As Jiang Yan calmly left the arena, he thought to himself, after winning the preliminary exam, the official university entrance exam will start in 3 days. Now he could finally go home and treat his sister to a good meal as promised. He also felt satisfied because this match had given him a reasonable excuse to explain his possession of the Qing Kang sword. Now that everyone had seen him openly using it, no one would come looking for trouble regarding the weapon in the future. Watching Jiang Yan leave, the vice principal could only shake his head in amazement and admit that this boy was indeed different. The principal smiled and replied, a person who can obtain items from the poisoned Dragon Valley surely has strength that goes far beyond what was shown in today's match. He confidently added that even the great ancestor Hu Dian Wu back in his day wasn't as astonishing as Jiang Yan was in his youth. The vice principal quietly agreed with every word. Then the principal looked toward the arena once more and said, Nanya High School has never produced a city-wide valedictorian, but perhaps this year history will change, and that incredible achievement will belong to an F-rank student named Jiang Yan. Afterward, another announcement echoed throughout the hall as the results of the preliminary exam were released. Bracket 68, Xiao Sheng from Class 24 wins. The preliminary exam is over. A total of 68 people are advancing to the next round. Soon after, all the students who had passed the qualifying round were led to the winner's lounge. The successful contestants quietly took their seats. Jiang Yan sat there as well. But instead of celebrating, he maintained a look of absolute composure. Countless thoughts ran through his mind as he silently calculated the scale of the competition ahead. Nanya High School had over 1,000 students. Just one grade had 68 brackets, meaning 680 students had participated in the preliminary exam. Even so, there were still over 400 other students who could participate in the regular university entrance exam. Combined with the 68 people who passed this round, Nanya High School alone had about 500 graduating students participating in this year's exam. Nanyang City had a total of 19 high schools. This meant that in this university entrance exam, the number of his rivals would reach nearly 10,000. Winning the valedictorian spot against nearly 10,000 talented students was not an easy dream. It required power, willpower, and absolute perfection, because just one small mistake could end everything. While Jiang Yan was still lost in thought, someone quietly walked over and sat down beside him. When he turned his head, he was surprised to realize it was the principal. He thought to himself, it's the principal. Why is he here? Before Jiang Yan could ask, the principal smiled warmly and said, relax. Over the past 3 years, you have always topped the class in both academics and martial arts. I have personally awarded you many times. You don't need to be this surprised, do you? Hearing that, Jiang Yan looked at the principal and replied with a respectful smile. You are not just the principal, but also one of the 12 guardian gods of Nanyang City. It's only natural for a student like me to be a bit surprised when you suddenly come and sit next to me, isn't it? The principal couldn't help but laugh, reaching out to pat Jiang Yan's shoulder in a friendly manner. You really know how to talk. I like this kind of flattery. But do you know what would make me even happier? Bring the valedictorian title back for Nanya High School. His voice was gentle, but the hope in his eyes was completely sincere. Those words left Jiang Yan truly stunned. He looked at the principal with disbelief and asked, just in this year's batch, we have 3 S-rank awakened students and 6 A ranks. Do you really trust an F-rank student like me that much? Such trust sounds quite unreasonable. But the principal didn't hesitate for even a second. He smiled and calmly replied, so what if it's F-rank? I am one of the 12 guardian gods of Nanyang City. Don't I only have a C-rank class myself? Don't forget, it's the human who grows stronger, not the class. Humanity's greatest power has never been talent or rank, but the heart that dares to draw a sword to face any powerhouse, even if that battle seems unwinnable. Hearing those powerful words, Jiang Yan was deeply shaken. In his heart, he couldn't help but admire the man sitting beside him. This principal was truly different from other powerhouses. He hadn't had many chances to interact with him in his previous life, but now he truly never judged him by his changed talent. A natural feeling of respect surged within Jiang Yan's heart. He looked at the principal and said with determination, "Thank you for your guidance. I will give it my all and promise to try my best to bring the valedictorian title back to Nanya High School." The principal smiled with satisfaction, then held out his fist toward Jiang Yan. "Good, that's the spirit. This is a promise between us. Come on, fist bump. This is a promise between men." Without hesitation, Jiang Yan also raised his fist and slammed it hard against the principal's, sealing the promise between the two with steady determination. As soon as they finished the fist bump, their passionate exchange immediately caught the attention of the surrounding students. From afar, some looked completely confused, while others couldn't help but make jokes. What are those two doing? Getting excited for no reason. Are they made of white phosphorus? They catch fire just by touching the air. The principal is old but still acts immature like this. No wonder Nanya High School has never produced a valedictorian in all these years. After leaving school, Jiang Yan thought, "I promised my sister I would treat her to a good meal. The official university entrance exam starts tomorrow, so tonight is the perfect time for us two to have some fun." Although their parents had passed away, the two siblings had always lived frugally and rarely ate anything special. Remembering everything they had gone through together, he became even more determined to keep his promise and give his sister at least one fun evening before his most important day. A while later, the two siblings arrived in front of a luxurious restaurant that looked far more extravagant than any place they had ever visited. The elegant building, sparkling lights, and beautifully decorated entrance left Xiao Dao dazed. She looked around with worried eyes and asked, "Brother, we have never eaten at a place like this before. Are we really going to eat here, or should we just go back?" Jiang Yan smiled confidently. "This is the place." Hearing that answer, Xiao Dao became even more worried. She looked at the restaurant again and said, "I looked it up online. This place is very expensive and famous. I heard you have to make a reservation to get in." Jiang Yan took out his phone, showed his sister the reservation, and laughed. "Your brother has been researching this for a long time. The table was booked several days ago. Let's go, let's head inside." Seeing that he had made such thoughtful arrangements, Xiao Dao's heart felt warm. She thought to herself, "Brother has put so much thought into this, I can't ruin the mood." As the two siblings entered the restaurant, a waitress greeted them with a polite smile. "Welcome, both of you. Would you like to order from the menu or go with the restaurant's recommended set meal?" Without even glancing at the menu, Jiang Yan calmly replied, "Bring us the set meal. I know those are all your signature dishes." The waitress bowed respectfully. "Very well, please wait a moment." As she walked away, she couldn't help but think, they look like regular customers, but they're willing to spend quite a bit. As Jiang Yan sat quietly sipping his water, Xiao Dao hesitated, flipped through the menu, and looked at him with wide eyes. "The set meal you ordered. Is it the most expensive one? The price is nearly 3,000. Jiang Yan nodded without hesitation. "That's right. If you see anything you want to eat, just order more, don't hold back. Order whatever you like." Hearing him say she could order freely, Xiao Dao was so astonished her head spun. 2,980. That's almost our family's living expenses for 10 months. "Brother, you didn't do anything illegal to suddenly get rich, did you?" Just then, the peaceful atmosphere of the restaurant was shattered when a group of noisy students rushed in, yelling loudly. "What do you mean? You can't eat without a reservation. I have my university entrance exam tomorrow. Clear a table for me now." A waiter hurriedly stepped forward, trying to calm them down politely. But the boy named Wang didn't bother listening, aggressively pointing at the staff and screaming, "Don't talk nonsense. Clear a table for my brothers, or I'll smash this place to pieces right now." Seeing the waitress who had just taken their order being threatened, Xiao Dao worriedly whispered, "Brother, that waitress seems to be getting bullied by those thugs." Jiang Yan glanced toward the noise, his expression immediately turning cold, and then he calmly looked away. "Are the upperclassmen of number 7 high school all this kind of trash?" Wang immediately spun around, his face flushed with anger. "What did you just say?" A crony also stepped forward, smiling sinisterly. "Say that again if you have the guts." "Oh, I was wondering who it was. It turns out to be that famous F-rank trash Jiang Yan from Nanya High School." "Kid, there aren't many F-rank trash like you in the whole of Nanyang City. Want to try how hard the punch of my C-rank combat class is?" The whole group laughed arrogantly, believing they could easily intimidate him. But Jiang Yan remained completely calm, as if their threats meant nothing. After listening to all their insults, he leisurely picked up the glass of water in front of him and intentionally poured it directly onto Wang's face. Then he looked at him with an extremely calm expression and said, "Sorry, my hand slipped." That simple sentence completely shattered Wang's limit of patience. His face twisted in rage, and he immediately activated his combat class. His arm transformed rapidly while he roared, You dare splash water on me, I'm going to smash your face in. Seeing Wang Zhu lunging forward, Xiao Dao cried out in fear. Brother, watch out. Just as Wang Zhu's transformed fist was about to land, a powerful hand suddenly appeared between them. That hand gripped Wang Zhu's arm so tightly that he couldn't move even a fraction of an inch. Then an angry voice echoed throughout the restaurant. Wang Zhu, what the hell are you doing? Wang Zhu stiffened upon realizing who had just arrived, his expression changing completely. Big brother Dao, why are you here? Jiang Yan also immediately recognized this person, Liu Dao, a B-rank combat powerhouse, one of the students capable of making the top 50 of number 7 high school. Wang Zhu hurriedly explained. Big brother Dao, I was just teaching this F-rank trash from Nanya High School a lesson. Don't worry, I'll make him know his place right now. Before Wang Zhu could finish, Liu Dao aggressively pushed him back, causing him to stumble and then roared with killing intent. You dare lift a hand against brother Yan? Do you want to die? Wang Zhu was completely stunned. He looked at Liu Dao in disbelief and hurriedly said, Big brother Dao, you're mistaken. He's just an F-rank trash from Nanya High School. Right at that moment, another calm voice rang out from behind. He is not mistaken. If he had arrived any later, your hand would have been broken already. Everyone turned toward the entrance, their expressions changing instantly. The moment Wang Zhu and his friends recognized who had just appeared, they were so terrified they almost stopped breathing. The young master of the Lu family, Lu Vin. Wang Zhu's heart hammered, thinking, Lu Vin, the S-rank combat genius, ranked in the top 3 of number 7 high school. Why is he here? Meanwhile, Jiang Yan just looked at him and smiled, leisurely saying, Little Vin, what a coincidence. Lu Vin frowned and replied, Don't call me by that name. That intimate conversation left Wang Zhu and his entire gang speechless. They looked at Jiang Yan in disbelief, wondering how someone they still called trash could talk to the young master of the Lu family like a close friend. Jiang Yan glanced at Wang Zhu and his friends, then calmly said, It seems the students of number 7 high school haven't been taught how to behave properly. The moment those words were spoken, Wang Zhu and his cronies felt a chill run down their spines. They no longer understood what was going on. The F-rank student they looked down on was talking without fear in front of Lu Vin, while Liu Dao was openly protecting him. Their minds were filled with confusion and fear, silently asking themselves, what on earth is happening?